Chapter 3256. Everyone could feel the strangeness of the situation. All of a sudden, the flame aura and corrosive aura had disappeared without a trace. No one knew what had happened. Even so, no one chose to give up and continued to search. Longao had been locking onto Han Wu and Kang Ye's tracks, but the two seemed to have evaporated into thin air and could not be locked onto. In that case, even if he could lock onto Mo Wu Tian, it would be impossible for him to subdue the candle shadow and kill him. His face was solemn. "Brother Long, since we already have the primal chaos refining tower, why don't we leave first?" How could Longao not know what Qin Shuangshuang meant? He was unwilling. "Shuangshuang, as long as we can subdue Mo Wutian, we will not have to worry about him." Qin Shuangshuang's face was filled with worry. "Brother Long, I don't know why, but I feel that something is wrong with you coming to Heaven's connecting peak." "What's wrong?" His heart skipped a beat. Longao was very curious and did not know what was going on with Qin Shuangshuang. No matter what, sometimes a person's intuition was very accurate. "Brother Long, this feeling is very strange. I can't explain it, but I can clearly feel that Heaven's connecting peak is very strange." "Okay, let's leave." Longao chose to believe Qin Shuangshuang and left without hesitation. Less than 2 hours after Longao left, Mo Wutian and the rest of the primal chaos reincarnation realm cultivators all chose to leave. Because every primal chaos reincarnation realm cultivator could sense that something was wrong, no one dared to continue waiting. It was better to leave first and see what was going on. About a day after all the Samsara experts left Heaven's connecting peak, the entire Heaven's connecting peak suddenly collapsed. Those who did not leave, no matter who, even Samsara experts, did not come out. As for what happened to them, one could only imagine. When Longao received the news, he was also shocked. Shuangshuang and the other Samsara experts all had the courage to do so, but why did he not? What was going on? Was it because of the primal chaos refining tower? Longao could almost say that the reason why he did not sense this danger was related to the primal chaos refining tower. As for the others, ordinary chaos warriors would not be able to sense it at all. Only primal chaos reincarnation warriors could sense it. Now that he thought about it, he felt scared. If it weren't for Shuangshuang's timely detection, he would have been crushed by the heaven connecting peak, his life and death unknown. He felt helpless. There was only one reason for the collapse of the Heaven's Link Peak. If there was no accident, it should be because Longao had obtained the primal chaos refining flame tower, which caused the collapse of the Tongtian Peak. Longao did not head to the Devil Palace. If it were only Wutian Mo and Judas, then Kang Ye and Han Wu would be more than capable of subduing Judas and killing Wutian. However, the situation now was very different. Inside the Devil Palace, there was Nangong Yin and the divine mathematician overseeing it. Even if he joined forces with Kang Ye and Han Wu, they still wouldn't be able to do it. There was no doubt about it. Blackstone Domain. Looking at the primal chaos refining flame tower in his hand, Longao would have started refining it long ago if he was not afraid of the backlash of the primal chaos refining flame tower. How could he wait until now? The primal chaos refining flame tower, he had already gathered most of the strange fires. According to the heavenly demonic flame, the remaining strange fires were all left in the primal chaos refining flame tower. As long as he opened the primal chaos refining flame tower, then he could easily obtain the remaining strange fires. However, the price he had to pay was too great. In the face of a primal chaos refining flame tower, even if it was the remnant soul of a primal chaos refining flame tower, he did not have the slightest confidence. Not to mention the current him, even at his peak, he could not withstand the backlash of a primal chaos refining flame tower. So, in this situation, he could only watch and not refine it. Otherwise, the slightest carelessness would cause him to fall into eternal damnation. Heavenly demonic flame tower, have you not thought of a way to deal with the remnant soul of the primal chaos refining flame tower? This was the key. As long as the remnant soul of the primal chaos refining flame tower was not eradicated, then it was impossible to refine the primal chaos refining flame tower. Longao could be said to know nothing about the primal chaos refining flame tower, but it did not mean that the heavenly demonic flame did not know. Boss, I believe you know the situation of the primal chaos refining flame tower better than me. Even if it is only the primordial spirit in the primal chaos refining flame tower, for us, it is an insurmountable gap. To completely destroy the primordial spirit of the primal chaos refining flame tower, it is true. At this point, the heavenly demonic flame did not continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. How could Longao not know the meaning of the heavenly demonic flame? His face was helpless. It seemed that in a short time, there was really no way to deal with the primordial spirit of the primal chaos refining flame tower. Boss, the matter of the primal chaos refining flame tower is not urgent. Anyway, now that it is in your hands, we have time to slowly study it. I don't believe that we can't refine the primal chaos refining flame tower. The most important thing now is to find a way to subdue the divine beast Juin. As long as we can gather all the primal chaos divine beasts, with the help of the primal chaos divine beast diagram, I believe that the 10 great primal chaos divine beasts can prove their Tao. The difference between a divine beast of the primal chaos reincarnation cycle and a divine beast of the primal chaos cycle was too great. The two were not existences of the same level. Longao had a rough understanding of the heavenly demonic flame's meaning. If he could subdue the divine beast of Juyin, then after the 10 great primal chaos divine beasts had all reached the primal chaos refining flame tower, any of them would be able to easily deal with the remnant soul of the primal chaos refining flame tower. However, this was easy to think about, but difficult to actually do. After all, if he wanted to subdue the divine beast of Juyin, he had to kill Mo Wutian. However, with his current strength, it was not possible to do so. Just as the heavenly demonic flame had said, now was not the time to destroy the primordial spirit of the primal chaos refining flame tower. It was impossible. The only thing he had to do was think of a way to subdue the divine beast of Juyin. He cultivated quietly. Rather than joining forces with Kang Ya and Han Wu, he might as well think of a way to raise his cultivation. However, he did not know why he was unable to break through from the primal chaos life and death realm to the primal chaos reincarnation realm. He originally thought that it was because of the primal chaos saint physique, but now it seemed that things were not as simple as he had imagined. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. Longao's face was very gloomy as he sensed his dantian, especially the primal chaos tree. However, the final result was the same. The more it was like this, the more depressed Longao was. If this continued, who knew what would happen? If his cultivation could not return to the primal chaos reincarnation realm after 5,000 years, then he would be completely passive. Chapter 3257. Dragon Peak. Back Mountain, Forbidden Grounds. Longao's right hand swiped gently in front of him. The entire sky seemed to be shrouded and trembled violently. His face was filled with surprise. I've already cultivated the fourth mystique, reincarnation, to the peak of reincarnation transcendence. Why am I still unable to break through the chaos reincarnation realm? Back then, he had barely managed to cultivate reincarnation transcendence when his cultivation base was at the peak of the chaos reincarnation realm. But now, his cultivation base had yet to break through the chaos reincarnation realm, but his fourth mystique, reincarnation transcendence, had already reached the 9th level. What did this mean? He could not figure it out. Even if he was beaten to death, Longao could not figure out what was going on. It did not make sense at all. Brother Long, with your current strength, are you able to fight against a chaos reincarnation realm martial artist? How could Longao not know what shuang meant? He chuckled. Longao did not say much. First sky region. 9 heavens void. 10,000 miles of clouds. Seeing Longao suddenly appear in front of them, whether it was Mo Wu Tian, Nangong Yin, or even the godly mathematician, they all seemed to be very surprised. They didn't know if Longao's brain had been flooded with water. Mo Wu Tian, haven't you always wanted to have a fair fight with me? I'll fulfill your wish today. I hope you won't disappoint me. Even if they were beaten to death, they would never have thought that Longao's purpose in coming here was to fight with them. Was Longao qualified? If Longao was at his peak, then there was no doubt that even Death God Duanmu Jin would not be a match for Longao in a one-on-one fight, let alone Mo Wutian. But now, Longao was only at the chaos life and death realm. It was impossible for him to fight against them. You want to rely on formations? Even now, Mo Wutian was still somewhat fearful of the array laid out by Longao. Mo Wutian, let's have a fair fight. I won't use formations. If you hide in the Chaos Palace. Before Mo Wutian could finish, Longao mocked, if either of us takes a step back, may the heavens strike us down. Just as Longao swore the primordial spirit oath, Mo Wutian started to hesitate. But since things had already come to this, he didn't think too much about it, and swore the same primordial spirit oath. Even if he was beaten to death, he would not believe that the current Longao could defeat him. This was how things were. Nangong Yin and the divine mathematician didn't say anything and retreated to the side with the candle-shade divine beast. Both of them wanted to see what sort of trump card Longao had up his sleeves for him to challenge Mo Wutian. But you have to know. The absolute difference in realm made it impossible for Longao to defeat a primal chaos samsara martialist without the help of an array formation. The two of them looked at each other and felt a strong fighting spirit from each other. Neither of them struck out immediately. At the start, Mo Wutian hadn't taken Longao seriously at all. But right now, he could sense an extremely horrifying aura emanating from Longao. Chaos life and death pinnacle state. He was just one step away from becoming a primal chaos samsara martialist. But Mo Wutian and the others couldn't figure out how Longao hadn't broken through from the chaos life and death state to the chaos reincarnation state yet. Just what was going on? But this was what they wanted to see the most. As long as Longao's cultivation state couldn't recover to the chaos reincarnation state, they would still have a chance. Kill Longao and steal the 9 revolutions chaos mantra. As for Longao's life or death, none of them cared. In the next second, be it Longao or Mo Wutian, both of them had already started moving. Their speed was extremely fast. Like a bolt of lightning, they clashed fiercely against each other. Boom, 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 boom. Both of them had chosen the most direct way of fighting. As they clashed, the sounds of their collisions rang out through the 9 heavens. Countless martial artists surged in as cries of shock rang out from all directions. Everyone knew that the Dragon Sect's master and Mo Wutian were fighting. If they were of the same cultivation state, then so be it. But more importantly, the Dragon Sect's master was just a chaos life and death state martialist, not a chaos reincarnation state martialist. Could the Dragon Sect's master win? Many people didn't think highly of Longao. They thought that Longao would definitely lose this battle, and Mo Wutian would definitely win. Hurry and look. Longao is definitely going to lose. Master Mo Wutian is way too strong. Don't even talk about chaos life and death state martialists. Even if they were of the same cultivation state, there would only be a handful of people who could beat Master Mo Wutian. Nangong Yin and Master Godly Mathematician stared fixedly at the battle before them. Until now, they still couldn't figure out what had given Longao the courage to challenge Mo Wutian. No matter what, Mo Wutian's strength was there for all to see. What do you think? Longao is currently only at the peak of the chaos life and death state. He's still a step away from the chaos reincarnation state. Moreover, compared to us, it's completely impossible. However, Longao won't do anything rash. This time, there will be trouble. Master Godly Mathematician nodded in agreement. Longao has endured for 3,000 years in seclusion cultivation, and even now, he still hasn't successfully returned to the chaos reincarnation state. This is truly inconceivable. However, I have a bad feeling that Longao is definitely not simple. At this point, Master Godly Mathematician didn't continue speaking. The two looked at each other, and from their eyes, they understood each other's intentions. No matter how the battle between Longao and Mo Wutian turned out, they wouldn't hesitate to join forces to deal with Longao, even if there were so many people watching. Face was indeed important, but compared to killing Longao, it wasn't worth mentioning. The two of them were wary of Longao. A person who could create the 9 revolution primal chaos mantra and was infinitely close to the grand Tao of primal chaos. It was hard to imagine how strong such a person would be once he returned to the chaos reincarnation state. However, There was one thing that was without a doubt. Once Longao's cultivation base really broke through to the chaos reincarnation state, not to mention one-on-one, even if the three of them joined forces, they might not be a match for Longao. After all, they already knew that death god Duanmu Jin had a grudge with Longao. The two of them had once fought, but death god Duanmu Jin had never been able to defeat Longao. It could be imagined just how powerful Longao's strength was. The battle between Longao and Mo Wutian continued to escalate, reaching a white-hot stage. If it were any other chaos life and death expert, they wouldn't even be able to withstand 3 moves. Only Longao, despite being in the chaos life and death realm, was infinitely close to the chaos reincarnation state. Reincarnation, transcendence. At this time, Longao finally used his 4th ability, the pinnacle of reincarnation, transcendence. Chapter 3258. Reincarnation, Transcendence. Longao's body exploded with a terrifying power that engulfed the entire world. Mo Wutian, who was originally full of confidence, was forced to retreat under the continuous attacks. His face changed. Nangong Yin and Master Godly Mathematician were completely stunned as they exclaimed, "Reincarnation Transcendence." Many people had witnessed Longao's reincarnation sacred art with their own eyes. Longao's self-created 9 Revolution Chaos Sutra had 4 sacred arts in the 7th revolution. Under normal circumstances, for Longao to master the reincarnation sacred art, especially the peak reincarnation sacred art, he would have to wait until Longao's cultivation base broke through the chaos reincarnation sacred art. But now, Longao's cultivation base had clearly not recovered to the chaos reincarnation sacred art. How could he master reincarnation transcendence? Just what was going on? At this moment, Nangong Yin and Master Godly Mathematician finally understood why Longao was so confident to fight Mo Wutian. It was because he had already mastered reincarnation transcendence. No matter how shocked they were, they could not change the fact. Everyone knew what reincarnation transcendence meant. Reincarnation transcendence. Mo Wutian's face was dark as he increased the intensity of his attacks. The two of them continued to exchange blows, but the most they could achieve was a draw. Longao had a rough understanding of his current strength. The absolute difference in cultivation base made it impossible for him to kill Mo Wutian even if he mastered reincarnation transcendence. In Longao's opinion, if he wanted to kill Mo Wutian smoothly, his cultivation base would have to break through to the chaos reincarnation sacred art. It was easy to think of it, but difficult to do it. Longao has already grasped the reincarnation transcendence realm. At this rate, once Longao recovers his primal chaos reincarnation realm, not to mention Mo Wutian, even if the 3 of us join forces, we may not be a match for Longao. Master Godly Mathematician nodded. How could he not know what Nangong Yin was talking about? His face was very gloomy, as ugly as it could get. The two of them could not understand why Longao could master reincarnation transcendence when his cultivation base had not recovered to the chaos reincarnation sacred art. Just what was going on? He could not figure it out. However, both of them knew very well that if they didn't get rid of this person as soon as possible, once Longao's cultivation returned to the chaos reincarnation state, the consequences would be unimaginable. By then, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. What do you want? Attack together. Kill him with all your might. It was easy to say. They were all dignified primal chaos reincarnation cultivators. With their statuses, if they were to join forces to deal with Longao, where would they put their face? We don't have any other way now. Longao's strength has far exceeded our understanding. All right. The longer the delay, the more disadvantageous it would be for the 3 of them. End the battle quickly. Now that things had reached this point, both Nangong Yin and the God Diviner had given up on face. As long as they could kill Longao, they were willing to pay any price. Just as Mo Wutian and Longao were locked in battle, the situation suddenly changed. 1 against 3. Given Longao's current strength, even if he had mastered the reincarnation transcendence, it would still be troublesome for him to fight against the combined forces of the 3 of them. The 3 of them joining forces? How shameless. Shut up. Are you tired of living to talk about the 3 of them? The faces of the spectators were filled with mockery and disdain. After all, Mo Wu Tian and Longao were fighting one-on-one, and it was a fair fight. To think that Nangong Yin and the God Diviner would suddenly appear. This was shameless to the extreme, but the winner was the king, and the loser was the bandit. Everyone was only looking at the results, and no one was willing to look at the process. Once Longao fell, who would still dare to call the three of them shameless? Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. What a shameless Mo Wu Tian, Nangong Yin, God Diviner. You guys are truly shameless to the extreme. This was supposed to be a fair fight. But, since the three of them were shameless, there was no way Longao would stay here any longer. Turning around, he disappeared without a trace. Mo Wu Tian did not go back on his essence spirit oath. However, his face was extremely grim right now. He had not expected that Longao would be able to fight against him even before his cultivation state was restored to chaos reincarnation state. It was hard to imagine that once Longao's cultivation state was restored to chaos reincarnation state, Mo Wu Tian would definitely not be a match for Longao. Just the thought of it was enough to make him excited. However, Longao had the Chaos Palace. Even if the three of them were to join forces to kill Longao, they would not be able to lock onto Longao. That was the crux of the matter. As long as they could not destroy the Chaos Palace, it would be impossible for them to deal with Longao. Mo Wu Tian, how do you feel? Very powerful. Back then, Longao relied on reincarnation to surpass all other chaos reincarnation state experts of the same level. Even death god Duanmu Jin was not a match for Longao. Although I don't know how Longao did it, I can tell you that once Longao recovers to chaos reincarnation state, even if we join forces, we will not be able to defeat him. Nangong Yin and Master God Diviner already knew about this. That was the reason why their expressions were so grave. Mo Wu Tian, we know what you mean. However, Longao has the Chaos Palace in his hands. I don't need to say more. You guys should know what the Chaos Palace represents. As long as we are unable to destroy the Chaos Palace, it will be impossible for us to deal with Longao. In the distance, everyone looked at Longao's sudden disappearance and sighed. A Chaos Samsara expert had actually escaped safely from the joint attack of 3 Chaos Reincarnation State experts. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it even if they were beaten to death. If it was a one-on-one battle, Longao's strength was enough to contend against any one of the 3. This was the strength of the Dragon Sect's master. According to the rumors, the Dragon Sect's master had a close female friend who was also a Chaos Reincarnation State expert. Just thinking about it made one realize what kind of concept it was. In the beginning, no one put the Dragon Sect in their eyes. However, the situation was completely different now. Longao's strength had convinced many people. The news of Longao fighting 1 against 3 Chaos Reincarnation State experts quickly spread throughout the Chaos Realm's 99 heavens. Anyone who received the news was shocked. It was hard to imagine that a puny Chaos Samsara expert could contend against 3 Chaos Reincarnation State experts at the same time. One had to admit that Longao was indeed very strong. However, it was said that what started as a fair battle turned into 3 people joining forces to deal with Longao. Ridicule could be heard everywhere. After all, the 3 people's status was there. Not to mention the 3 of them joining forces, even one of them would be lowering their status. Chapter 3259. Regarding this battle, Longao already had a whole new understanding. 4th Sacred Art, Reincarnation Transcendence. Longao knew full well that breaking through to the 8th revolution of the 9 Revolutions Chaos Codex was a task he couldn't accomplish. His top priority was to find a way to break through to the reincarnation realm. The 8th revolution. Longao was looking forward to the 8th revolution. When he first reached the peak of the 7th revolution, Reincarnation Transcendence, he was only 1 step away from the 8th revolution when a mysterious force stopped him. Whether he would succeed or not was still unknown. He was helpless. Until now, Longao still could not figure out what was the reason for his cultivation to be unable to break through. The sacred body of chaos? That was utter nonsense. Although the sacred body of chaos hindered his cultivation, As long as he could devour enough energy, he could break through. But what was the result? It had nothing to do with the sacred body of chaos. If that was the case, then what was going on? Even Longao couldn't figure it out. Brother Dragon, you can already contend with Wu Tianmo. As long as Nangong Yin and the Oracle aren't here, we can deal with Mo Wutian and Judas. We don't need to team up with Kang Ya and Han Wu. Longao nodded. How could he not know what Qin Shuangshuang meant? Before he mastered reincarnation transcendence, he'd have to team up with Han Wu and Kang Ya to deal with Mo Wutian and Judas. Only then would they have a chance to kill Wu Tianmo and tame the Judas. But now, things were different. Since mastering reincarnation transcendence, Longao's strength was enough to contend with Wu Tianmo. There was no need to team up with Han Wu and Kang Ya. Their combined strength was enough to keep Wu Tianmo in check. The Judas would be left to Longao to deal with. Because of this, Longao didn't leave First Sky. Brother Dragon, what do you plan to do next? Wait. Qin Shuangshuang didn't ask any more questions. She already knew what her brother meant. Now wasn't the time to act. Unless something unexpected happened, Nangong Yin and the Oracle were still in the Demon Palace. If they acted now, they'd only end up worse off. He could only wait. Once Nangong Yin and the Oracle left the Demon Palace, that would be the best time to deal with Wutian and Judas. There were countless casualties on Tongtian Peak. This included countless Chaos Warriors. The matter of heaven reaching peak shook the entire Chaos realm. At this point, still, no one had obtained the primal chaos refining flame pagoda. Many people guessed that the Tongtian Peak was simply a trap. Otherwise, why would the heaven-connecting peak collapse for no reason? Other than the dozens of primal chaos reincarnation martial artists who had successfully made it out, the rest had all perished. What kind of concept was that? No one knew who the main culprit was. Perhaps even the primal chaos reincarnation martial artists did not know. In fact, the main culprit was Longao. If Longao hadn't taken away the primal chaos refining tower, the Heaven's Link Peak wouldn't have collapsed, and the people who stayed in the Heaven's Link Peak wouldn't have all died. Within the Devil Palace, Nangong Yin and Master God Diviner didn't leave. The three of them knew that given Longao's current strength, none of them would be able to kill him. After separating, it was even more impossible to kill Longao. If it was just Longao alone, it wouldn't matter. But the biggest problem was that Longao still had a primal chaos reincarnation martial artist by his side. What kind of concept was that? The three of them knew that once they separated, Longao could join forces with Qin Shuangshuang and casually find one of them. It was obvious what the outcome would be. They were helpless. Even though they didn't want to admit it, the truth was right before their eyes. There was nothing they could do. The two of you, what should we do now? Mo Wutian was also extremely depressed. Never in his wildest dreams had he imagined that things would turn out this way. In fact, the three of them didn't even dare to separate. To the three of them, this was simply a humiliation, an enormous humiliation. So what if it was a humiliation? So what if they were angry? Things had come to this, and they couldn't change it. The divine mathematician said helplessly, now that Longao hasn't recovered his primal chaos reincarnation realm, we might still have a chance. Once Longao recovers his vision and with Qin Shuangshuang's help, then. At this point, the divine mathematician didn't finish his words. But the meaning of his words was clear. How could the other two not understand the logic behind it? They were helpless. The situation had completely exceeded their scope of understanding. Back then, they had failed to kill Longao, and had already lost the initiative. Now, it was too late for regrets. No matter the price, we have to kill Longao with all our might. We have to let the tiger return to the mountain for future trouble. It was easy to think about it, but to truly kill Longao was easier said than done. Han Wu and Kang Ya also received the news. Both of them were helpless, because they had never imagined that Longao had already grasped the transcendence of reincarnation in less than a few months, and could even contend against Mo Wutian. If it was Longao at his peak, then it would be fine. But the most helpless thing was that in the battle between Longao and Mo Wutian, Longao was only a primal chaos life and death, and not a primal chaos reincarnation. The two sighed. As expected of the number one person under the primal chaos realm. It seemed that after reincarnating, Longao had become even more powerful. His cultivation hadn't broken through the primal chaos reincarnation realm, but he could already fight against Mo Wutian. It was hard to imagine that once Longao recovered his primal chaos reincarnation realm, even if he didn't need to reach the peak of the primal chaos reincarnation realm, he could still look down on any cultivator of the same level. The angriest one was Jiyu Hao. Ever since his cultivation recovered to the primal chaos reincarnation realm, he hadn't made a move against Longao. In his opinion, Longao was nothing to worry about, so he was busy fighting for the primal chaos realm. But right now, it seemed like he was wrong. Way too wrong. For him to be able to do something like this, it was enough to prove Longao's innate potential and strength. At the peak of the mountain, Jiyu Hao stood against the wind and looked at the endless void before him. There wasn't any expression on his face. But just at this moment, Jiyu Hao gripped his fists tightly and muttered to himself coldly, "Longao, I hope that you won't disappoint me. The day you break through to the primal chaos reincarnation realm will be the day I kill you." Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. The primal chaos realm was split into 4 parts. Right now, the primal chaos realm was split between the Ancient Sect, the Domain Lord Alliance, the Pill Hall, and the Devil Palace. On the other hand, the Dragon Sect had been biding their time, guarding the Blackstone Heavenly region. As for the intentions of the Dragon Sect, no one knew about them. After all, given the strength of the Dragon Sect right now, they definitely had the rights to fight for the primal chaos realm. The Ancient Sect had only started to develop in the recent 100-odd years. However, their speed of development was extremely fast. In just a short 100-odd years, they had already surpassed the other 3 superforces. Chapter 3260. Chaos Realm. On the surface, it was calm, but in reality, the wind was blowing and the clouds were moving. The 4 superforces were restless, wanting to destroy each other and dominate the Chaos Realm. It was easy to think about it, but it was difficult to do it. How was that possible? To destroy a superforce, one had to kill the Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artist guarding it. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. But to destroy a Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artist was easier said than done. It was almost impossible. The one with the most hope was Mo Wutian, but even Mo Wutian didn't have full confidence. If the other Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artists chose to die together, the consequences would be obvious. If Nangong Yin and the Divine Mathematician were to help, it would be a different concept. But the result? Nangong Yin and the Divine Mathematician didn't interfere in this matter at all. Their goal was simple, to kill Longao. Not to mention the 2 of them, except for Jiyu Hao and Mo Wutian, almost all the Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artists didn't have the intention to dominate the Chaos Realm. Their only goal was to prove their Tao. The 4 super forces fought with each other, and the battle kept escalating. At this moment, the 5 Elements' old ancestor led the Dragon Sect to rise quickly. He specialized in fighting the Ancient Sect and the Demon Palace. Among the 5 Elements, he had already joined forces with the Domain Lord Alliance and the Pill Hall. The current Dragon Sect also had a Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artist guarding it. Although Longao's cultivation hadn't broken through the Chaos Reincarnation Realm, his strength was enough to fight against a Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artist. Blackstone Heavenly Region. Duan Hun's figure appeared. He looked coldly at the dragon peak in front of him and said directly, "Longao, an old friend is here. Come out and meet me." His voice rolled out, changing the surroundings of the dragon peak. There was no response. What was going on? Duan Hun's face instantly darkened. He could almost be sure that Longao was definitely not in the dragon peak. Otherwise, it was impossible for him not to appear. At this moment, the 5 Elements' old ancestor quickly arrived in front of Duan Hun. "Senior, I wonder why you're looking for the master." Chaos Life and Death Realm martial artists were just slightly bigger ants in front of Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artists. "Where's Longao?" "The master is not here. Tell him that I'll be waiting for him at Soul Break Valley." After saying that, he left. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. The Five Elements patriarch didn't know what the other party meant, but he didn't dare to hesitate and immediately spread the news. Longao, who was still in the Black Stone heavenly domain, was also very curious after hearing the news. He didn't know why Duan Hun was looking for him at this time. Big Brother Long, you and Duan Hun were enemies, not friends. This time, he came to find you for no good reason. He nodded. How could Longao not know what shuang meant? Longao was more or less afraid of Duan Hun. Back then, many people wanted to steal his Primal Chaos Palace and 9 Revolution Primal Chaos formula. However, no one was a match for him. Duanmu Jin and Duan Hun were exceptions. Duan Hun's strength was unfathomable. This time, he came to find him for absolutely nothing good. Big Brother Long, you're going? Qin Shuang knew Longao's character too well. She was very worried. Who knew what kind of tricks Duan Hun was playing? It was better to be safe than sorry. If something happened to Brother Long, she wouldn't even have the chance to regret. Shuang, I have to go this time. Originally, he had stayed in the first heavenly domain to wait for Nangong Yin and Godly Mathematician to leave. Then, he would join forces with them to deal with Mo Wutian and Zhu Yin. But now, it seemed like this would have to be delayed. Longao didn't hesitate at all. He immediately stood up and left the first heavenly domain. Soulbreak Valley, Duan Hun's base. It was also the forbidden ground of the Chaos world. Without Duan Hun's permission, anyone who dared to casually step into Soulbreak Valley would die without a doubt. After all, Duan Hun's strength was unfathomable. He was far above Mo Wutian and the others. Duan Hun didn't care about anything in the Chaos world. He only wanted to prove his Tao. But after so many years, no matter what he thought of, he couldn't succeed. Old friend is here. Please come in. Longao sneered in his heart. He took a step forward and came to the center of Soulbreak Valley, in front of a thatched cottage. Duan Hun looked very calm. When he saw Longao suddenly arriving, he made a hand gesture and said with a smile, Brother Long, it's been thousands of years. How have you been? Longao didn't stand on ceremony. He immediately sat down and said with a smile, Duan Hun, there's no need for this between us. If you have something to say, just say it. Straightforward enough. Duan Hun laughed and said with a smile, straightforward, that's what I like about Brother Long. Since that's the case, I won't stand on ceremony. Back when Brother Long created the 9 Revolution Chaos formula, you were also infinitely close to proving your Tao. You were only one step away from succeeding. You want to cultivate the 9 Revolution Chaos formula? That's right. Duan Hun, I can tell you clearly that although the 9 Revolution Chaos formula was created by me, I don't know the 8th and 9th revolution. If you are willing, I can teach you the first 7 revolutions. How about it? Hearing this, Duan Hun's face suddenly lit up. He never thought that Longao would be so straightforward and actually be willing to hand over the 9 Revolution Chaos formula. He vaguely remembered that when Longao created the 9 Revolution Chaos formula, many Chaos Samsara experts tried to snatch it. Some of them even died at that time. Until now, no one had been able to successfully take the 9 Revolution Chaos formula from Longao. Although it was only the first 7 revolutions, Duan Hun was full of confidence. As long as he could obtain the first 7 revolutions of the 9 Revolution Chaos formula, then according to his talent and potential, it should not be difficult to create the 8th and 9th revolutions. As for Longao's words, Duan Hun did not have the slightest doubt. After all, if Longao had created the 8th and 9th revolutions, Longao would have succeeded in proving his Tao. However, Duan Hun did not believe that there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. There was no such thing as a free lunch, especially when it came to the 9 Revolution Chaos formula. He knew very well what it meant. Duan Hun could not figure out why Longao would suddenly hand over the 9 Revolution Chaos formula. It was a bit inconceivable, but as long as he could get the 9 Revolution Chaos formula, he was willing to pay any price. Brother Long, you just said that there is no need for this between us. If you have any request, just say it. As long as I can do it, I will not refuse. How about it? Longao sneered in his heart. Of course, He knew that if he did not hand over the 9 revolution chaos formula, then Duan Han would definitely give up. However, he would definitely not hand over the 8th and 9th revolutions. Chapter 3261. At this time, there was no need to completely fall out with Duan Han. Longao was confident that even if Duan Han cultivated the 9 revolutions chaos mantra, so what? Throughout the chaos realm, aside from himself, no one else could cultivate the 9 revolutions chaos mantra, especially when it was missing the 8th and 9th revolutions. Duan Han wanted to use the 9 revolutions chaos mantra to prove his Tao. It was like the ravings of a lunatic, something that was simply impossible. Longao was certain that if he didn't hand over the 9 revolutions chaos mantra, Duan Han would deal with him. There was no doubt about that. Then, Longao didn't hesitate. He immediately passed on the first 7 revolutions of the 9 revolutions chaos mantra to Duan Han. Feeling the 9 revolutions chaos mantra appear in his mind, Duan Han was ecstatic. He had full confidence in himself. As long as he could get the 9 revolutions chaos mantra, he would have a chance to prove his Tao. He laughed wildly in his heart. "Brother Long, tell me your conditions." Longao smiled. Without the slightest courtesy, Longao said, "I only have one condition. Please speak. Kill Mo Wutian." Before coming, Longao already knew that Duan Han would want the 9 revolutions chaos mantra, but he couldn't give it away for free. His condition was to kill Mo Wutian. That way, his chances of subduing the Judas would be much higher. Duan Han was surprised. He didn't expect Longao to raise such a condition. If it were any other cultivator, Duan Han wouldn't even think about it. After all, with his strength, killing an ordinary cultivator was a matter of minutes. Only a Chaos Realm cultivator, and Mo Wutian at that. Mo Wutian's situation was troublesome. With the Judas by his side, no matter how strong he was, he couldn't kill Mo Wutian alone. But Longao had already passed the 9 revolutions chaos mantra to him. If he didn't comply, it would be unreasonable. Besides, Duan Han was no fool. If Longao handed over the 9 revolutions chaos mantra so easily, he must have a trick up his sleeve. Giving up the 9 revolutions chaos mantra to avoid Mo Wutian was not worth it. How should he choose? How could Longao not know what Mo Wutian was thinking? He didn't say anything and just sat there quietly. Previously, when he imparted the 9 revolution chaos formula, he had left a backup plan. Although it was the first 7 revolutions, the 7th revolution was only half of it. Without his half, the 9 revolution chaos formula was nothing. That was indeed the case. Longao wasn't worried at all. Even if Duan Han rejected him, he wouldn't lose anything. This way, Duan Han would have no excuse to cause trouble for him. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Time trickled by. After an unknown period of time. "Brother Long, forgive me for speaking bluntly. My strength alone is not enough to take on 2 people at once, let alone kill Mo Wutian. This is truly making things difficult for me." Having already guessed that Duan Han would say this, Longao wasn't surprised at all. "You just have to help me pin down Mo Wutian. Once I've dealt with the Candle Shadow Beast, you and I can work together to kill Mo Wutian. Since that's the case, I'll agree to it." First, he would pin down Mo Wutian. Then, he would join forces with Longao to kill Mo Wutian. This was an easy task for Duan Han. For this, he would be able to obtain the 9 revolution chaos formula. This was an extremely worthwhile task for Duan Han. "Duan Han, there's another troublesome matter. In order to deal with me, Nangong Yin and the Godly Diviner are currently in the Devil Palace." At this point, Longao did not continue speaking. However, the meaning behind his words was clear. Duan Han was no fool. Naturally, he knew that Longao was doing this on purpose. Had he been tricked? Only, if he didn't look for Longao, Longao wouldn't take the initiative to come. Seemed like he had to suffer in silence. "Brother Long, you think too highly of me. Ha ha ha. Duan Han, you've misunderstood my meaning. We can definitely think of a way to lure Nangong Yin and the Godly Diviner away. What do you think?" "I'm fine with it." Even if there was a problem, Duan Han would agree for the 9 revolution chaos formula. After so many years, he had thought of countless ways to prove his Tao, but none of them had succeeded. It could be said that the 9-revolution chaos formula was his last hope. Now that he had obtained it with great difficulty, how could Duan Hun choose to give it up so easily? It was complete nonsense. As for dealing with Mo Wu Tian, Duan Hun didn't care at all. So what if he provoked Mo Wu Tian? He didn't care at all. As long as he could prove his Tao, so what if he offended all the chaos reincarnation cultivators? Proving his Tao was the only thing. After a short discussion between Longao and Duan Hun, Longao got up and left the valley. Brother Long, do you think Duan Hun will play tricks with me? Longao nodded. Of course, he knew what Shuang was worried about. He smiled and said, according to my guess, Duan Hun won't act immediately. He will definitely cultivate the 9-revolution chaos formula that I taught him. As long as he can reach the first stage, he will help me. Qin Shuang wasn't excited at all. Instead, she became even more worried. She said, Brother Long, you should know better than me what the 9-revolution chaos formula means. In the entire chaos world, besides you, no one can successfully cultivate the 9-revolution chaos formula, even if it's only the first stage. Qin Shuang was too confident about this. Back then, she had personally cultivated the 9-revolution chaos formula, but she had no clue. If that was the case, how could Duan Hun succeed in cultivating the first stage of the 9-revolution chaos formula? It was complete nonsense. In this case, not only would Duan Hun not help Brother Long, he would even turn hostile. At that time, it would be troublesome. Duan Hun's situation was different. Duan Hun's strength was very strong, not something Mo Wu Tian could compare to. In a one-on-one battle, Duan Hun's strength was enough to rank in the top 5 of the chaos world. He was even on the same level as Duan Mu Jin. What kind of concept was this? Don't worry, I have arranged everything. Longao's face was full of confidence. He smiled and said, Shuang, if it was in the past, I would have no way. But now, I can create a cultivation method that is infinitely close to the 9-revolution chaos formula according to the 9-revolution chaos formula. Therefore, Duan Hun will not be able to cultivate the first stage. He can even cultivate the next 6 stages. However, it won't be the real 9-revolution chaos formula. Qin Shuang wasn't a fool. She instantly understood Longao's meaning. The more she thought about it, the more amused she felt. In this way, Duan Hun would have played for nothing. In the end, she still had to thank Brother Long. What should we do now? Chapter 3262. Wait. Under such circumstances, he could only wait. Longao knew that if he wanted Duan Hun to help him deal with Mo Wu Tian, he would have to let Duan Hun cultivate the 9-revolution chaos mantra first. In the entire chaos realm, only he could tell if the 9-revolution chaos mantra was real or fake. No one else could, including Duan Hun. Longao had full confidence in this point. Longao did not continue to stay, but returned to the first heavenly domain. The current chaos realm was still in chaos. The 4 superforces were in a chaotic battle, and there were countless casualties. However, if the chaos reincarnation realm martial artists in charge did not fall, it would be difficult to determine the victor. Although the dragon sect had intervened, they did not fight for territory. They were still holed up in the black stone heavenly domain. Nangong Yin, godly mathematician, Mo Wu Tian, the 3 chaos reincarnation realm martial artists were not thinking about fighting for the chaos realm. Even Mo Wu Tian was the same. The reason was simple. The 3 of them wanted to kill Longao, because the strength that Longao had displayed was enough to explain everything. The 3 of them were almost certain. Once Longao's cultivation base recovered to the chaos reincarnation realm, even if the 3 of them joined forces, they might not be a match for Longao. How could they not be afraid? How could they not be afraid? Demon Palace, Great Hall. The 3 of them had gloomy expressions, because they could not deal with Longao just because they wanted to. As long as Longao continued to hide in the primal chaos hall and refused to come out, there was nothing they could do. They could only watch helplessly as Longao smoothly broke through from the chaotic life and death state to the chaotic reincarnation state. The 3 of them had seen how heaven-defying the Chaos Palace was, and they could not lock it down. Unless a Dao-confirming martial artist came personally, there might be a chance of breaking the Chaos Palace. With just the three of them joining forces, it was impossible. Tell me, given the current situation, what should we do? The three of them knew that with the enmity between them and Longao, once Longao recovered to the Chaos Reincarnation Realm, he would definitely find trouble with them. Currently, Longao was only a chaotic life-and-death warrior. Although Longao could contend against Mo Wu-Tien, it was still a pipe dream for him to fight one against three. As long as they could meet force with force, the three of them were confident that they could kill Longao. But Longao didn't do that at all. This was the most crucial point. What should he do? Master God Diviner's expression was cold as he said, given Longao's talent, he should have broken through the primal chaos reincarnation level in 3,000 years by now. Hearing the godly mathematician's words, Nangong Yin and Mo Wu-Tien's hearts shook. Neither of them said anything as they stared at Master God Diviner. After thinking for a while, the marvelous mathematician continued, according to my guess, if there is no accident, Longao must have encountered some trouble in his cultivation, causing his cultivation to be unable to break through the chaos samsara realm. So what? Nangong Yin said helplessly, even if Longao's cultivation encountered some kind of obstacle that prevented him from returning to the chaos samsara realm in a short period of time, it doesn't mean that he will never be able to return to the chaos samsara realm. You should know that as long as Longao has the Chaos Palace, we won't be able to do anything to him. This way, Longao will have plenty of time to cultivate. Master God Diviner nodded and said in agreement, indeed. Nangong Yin and Mo Wu-Tien were very curious. They didn't know what Master God Diviner meant. It was very depressing. I don't know if you've heard of a treasure that can lock onto anything in a specific space. Even if Longao's Chaos Palace is powerful, as long as it's enveloped by this treasure. Master God Diviner didn't continue speaking. He just smiled at the two people in front of him. His meaning was very clear. Evil Moon? Whether it was Nangong Yin or Mo Wu-Tien, after hearing Master God Diviner's words, both of them were stunned. Their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. It was impossible for any chaotic martial artist who had reached a certain level not to know Evil Moon because Evil Moon was a legend in the chaotic realm. It had never occurred to them that the marvelous mathematician would suddenly mention Evil Moon. Master Godly Mathematician, you should know what Evil Moon means. The universal space you just mentioned is Evil Moon's treasure. How could he lend it to you? If you anger him, all three of us will be in trouble. They were too afraid of Evil Moon. Evil Moon was the legendary strongest chaos reincarnation martial artist. He had been famous for countless years. Even before they reached the chaos reincarnation realm, Evil Moon was already a legend. Back then, when Longao was known as the #1 person below Dao validation, he did not include Evil Moon because Evil Moon had already left Jianghu. Legend had it that Evil Moon had started to cultivate in seclusion countless years ago to reach the final Dao validation realm. However, whether he succeeded or not was still unknown. In any case, Evil Moon was a person who could not be provoked. If he failed, Evil Moon would deal with the three of them. It would be like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Master Godly Mathematician, what are you thinking? Master Godly Mathematician did not have much confidence in himself. However, Longao's strength was too strong, especially when things had already reached this stage. It was either you die or I die, so it was better to fight. Maybe they could use Evil Moon's power to kill Longao. You two know Longao's situation better than I do. All we can do now is fight. However, I am certain that Evil Moon has not succeeded in his Dao validation. If that is the case, we can tell Evil Moon that even if Longao has the 9 Revolutions Chaos Codex, the Chaos Beasts, and the 9 Chaos Beasts, they can help him succeed. Think about it, if Evil Moon is willing to help, then Longao's death is certain. As soon as Master Godly Mathematician finished speaking, Wu-Tien Mo immediately spoke up. No, I cannot agree to this. Why? Asked the Godly Mathematician and Nangong Yin at the same time. They didn't know why Mo Wu-Tien had such a big reaction. Could it be that Mo Wu-Tien didn't want to see Longao die? Master Godly Mathematician, you know what you've just done. Even if you can kill Longao, you will lose my Judas. At this point, the two understood what Wu Tianmo was trying to say. If Evil Moon tried to steal the Chaos Codex, he would gather all 10 Chaos Beasts. Longao only had 9 Chaos Beasts, and Judas was the only one missing. It was easy to imagine what would happen. Wu Tianmo, for the sake of the big picture, sometimes sacrifices are inevitable. Sacrifice my ass. Why don't you sacrifice yourself? Don't even think about taking Judas. Even if I die, I won't let anything happen to him. Chapter 3263. Nangong Yin and Master Clairvoyant said nothing more. Back Mountain. Wu Tianmo had arranged a restricted area for the two. Under normal circumstances, no one would disturb them. If Wu Tianmo doesn't agree, it will be difficult. If this were any other time, they wouldn't have cared if Wu Tianmo agreed or not. But now, things were different. They had joined forces with Wu Tianmo to deal with Longao. It wasn't a good idea to break all pretense of cordiality. In this world, there were no eternal enemies, nor were there eternal friends. There were only eternal interests. All we need to do is inform Evil Moon, and he will deal with Longao. Whether or not he will deal with Judas is no longer our concern. That's the way it is. Longao entered the first heaven and waited for Abominable Soul's reply. According to his calculations, Abominable Soul should have a response in a few months. 3 months later. The Demon Palace. High in the sky, thousands of miles of clouds. Abominable Soul and Longao's figures appeared. They stared coldly at the 3 humans and 1 beast before them. Abominable Soul, what is the meaning of this? Seeing Abominable Soul standing beside Longao, the 3 of them wore solemn expressions. Of course they knew Abominable Soul wouldn't appear here for no reason. Nangong Yin, godly mathematician, this time, Longao and I are dealing with Mo Wutian. It has nothing to do with the 2 of you. Let me give you a word of advice. You'd better leave. Otherwise, even if we have to go to the ends of the earth, Longao and I will hunt you down. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Shuangshuang's figure emerged from his chaotic dantian. They were completely confused. They couldn't figure out why Abominable Soul would suddenly help Longao. What was going on? Abominable Soul. Before Wu Tianmo could speak, Abominable Soul waved his hand impatiently. Wu Tianmo, accept your fate. Nangong Yin and Master Clairvoyant weren't worried in the slightest. It was as if they didn't care for their opponent. Duan Han, are you really going to help Longao? Looking at the 2 people before him, Duan Han's heart shook. With his strength, the other party should be afraid of him. However, for some unknown reason, he kept feeling that something was amiss. As for what was wrong, he couldn't put his finger on it. Not to mention Duan Han and Longao, even Mo Wutian had no idea what the 2 of them were thinking. There was no need to mention Duan Han's strength. Back then, Duan Han and Duan Mu Jin were extremely powerful. Ordinary primal chaos samsara martial artists were no match for the 2 of them. Mo Wutian did not believe that the 2 of them would offend Duan Han for him. It was completely impossible. If it weren't for the fact that they had to deal with Longao, the 2 of them would have left long ago. Right at this moment. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the clouds thousands of miles above the 9 heavens. In just a short while, the entire cloud peak was filled with thunderclouds, which began to rumble incessantly. Brother Long, be careful. Longao nodded. Of course, he knew that things were getting troublesome, but he still didn't know what was going on. Under the cover of the thunderclouds, a black figure suddenly appeared. Evil Moon. Whether it was Longao, Qin Shuangshuang, or Duan Han, none of them had ever seen Evil Moon before. After all, when they became primal chaos samsara martial artists, Evil Moon was already a legend. The 3 of them could only guess that the man who had appeared before them was the legendary Evil Moon. If that was the case, then they were in big trouble. Evil Moon sneered, coldly looked at the young man in front of him, and coldly asked, "You are Longao?" Beside him, Mo Wutian's anger had reached a boiling point. He knew what was going on, and if he wasn't mistaken, the 2 of them must have told Evil Moon about what had happened behind his back. If he could borrow Evil Moon's strength to deal with Longao, that would be the best outcome. But if Evil Moon decided to go after Judas, what would he do then? So what if he was angry? Mo Wutian didn't dare provoke Evil Moon. After all, Evil Moon was a legend. So what if I am? Ha ha ha, not bad. Not bad at all. After so many years of seclusion, I didn't expect chaos to produce someone like you. Someone who can create a method of your own. What do you want? Evil Moon laughed. I can spare your life, but you must hand over the 9 Revolutions Chaos Codex, the Chaos Mythological Beast Diagram, and the 9 Divine Beasts. What do you say? The 9 Revolutions Chaos Codex alone was not enough to summon Evil Moon. The way Evil Moon saw it, if the 9 Revolutions Chaos Codex could really prove a path, then Longao would be a primal chaos warrior by now. How could he fail? The reason why Evil Moon had appeared was because of the Chaos Divine Beast Diagram and the 9 Divine Beasts of Chaos. Of course, he knew what the diagram and the 9 Divine Beasts of Chaos meant. Although he was known as the strongest cultivator below the Great Path Realm, he had not been able to successfully prove his path after so many years. However, if he could obtain the Chaos Divine Beast Diagram and the 9 Divine Beasts of Chaos, he might be able to successfully prove his way. Until now, Evil Moon still could not believe that someone could obtain the Chaos Divine Beast Diagram and even gather the 9 Divine Beasts of Chaos. Hearing Evil Moon's words, Duan Hun, who was standing beside Longao, was also shocked. He also knew what the Chaos Mythological Beast Diagram and the 9 Divine Beasts represented. Although he was shocked, Duan Hun was very afraid of Evil Moon. He thought that his strength was not enough to compete with Evil Moon. Was it worth it for Longao? However, Duan Hun didn't leave. He wanted to see what would happen next. If Longao was willing to hand over these things, then Evil Moon would leave. At that time, everything would still be under his control. Tell me, why should I give it to you? Qin Shuangshuang held Longao's hand tightly. Although she didn't say anything, she was extremely worried. She had heard about the legend of Evil Moon, but she never thought that Evil Moon would appear at this time. Others might not know, but how could Qin Shuangshuang not know? It was impossible for Brother Long to hand over the Chaos Mythological Beast Diagram and the 9 Divine Beasts, not to mention the real 9 Revolution Chaos Formula. Once they completely fell out, it would mean something that Mo Wutian and the others wanted to see the most. However, in the next second, Longao moved his mind and Qin Shuangshuang disappeared from the spot and returned to the chaotic Dantian. Do you know the consequences of doing this? Evil Moon, I respect you as a senior, but don't think that you can order me around. The 9 Revolution Chaos Formula and the Chaos Mythological Beast Diagram? Dream on, maybe your dream will come true. Chapter 3264. The moment these words came out, the crowd went into an uproar. They had seen arrogant people before, but this was the first time they had seen someone this arrogant. Mo Wutian and the others were clear that even Longao at his peak might not be a match for Evil Moon, let alone the current Longao. Legends had it that Evil Moon was only a step away from proving his Tao. What sort of a concept was that? He glared at the young man before him. Evil Moon had not expected the other party to say something like that. He was stunned for a moment. Next, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. He reared his head and laughed maniacally. For so many years, he had never seen anyone who dared to provoke him in such a manner. Instead of getting angry, Evil Moon laughed coldly. Longao, you're pretty good. I admire your courage as well. To think that you would dare to speak to me in such a manner. Who do you think you are? Longao knew that since Evil Moon had appeared, he would definitely not let him off easily. Since that was the case, why should he be polite? Nangong Yin seized this opportunity and stood out immediately. Senior Evil Moon, since Longao doesn't know what's good for him, Senior, please take action. Bootlicker. Ignoring Longao. If it were a head-on fight, Nangong Yin wouldn't be afraid of Longao at all. However, the Chaos Palace in Longao's hands was the biggest problem. He would only take action if he had no other choice. If he had any other choice, he would not have done so. From the beginning till the end, Mo Wutian had not spoken a single word. He was furious in his heart. He did not know whether he wanted Longao to be killed or not. If this matter did not involve his Candle Shadow God Beast, He would definitely be willing to see Evil Moon kill Longao. He could cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, and he could even obtain the 9 Revolution Chaos Mantra. But now, things were different. Since Evil Moon already knew about the Chaos Beast diagram, he must know that he had to gather all 10 Chaos God Beasts to open it. And Longao only had 9 Chaos God Beasts in his hands. The only one missing was his Candle Shadow God Beast. Once Evil Moon obtained the Chaos Beast diagram and the 9 Chaos God Beasts, there was no doubt about it. Evil Moon would definitely ask him for his Candle Shadow God Beast. By then, should he give it or not? He couldn't bear to give it. After so many years, it would be a lie to say that he had no feelings for the Zhuyin mythical beast. On the other hand, the God Beast was one of the 10 Chaos God Beasts. Its strength. Mo Wu Tian was clear that the reason he could suppress Han Wu and Kang Ya was not because he was strong, but because he had the Candle Shadow Beast by his side. Evil Moon. There was no need to mention Evil Moon's strength. According to legend, Evil Moon had fought against 3 primal Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artists by himself. Not only had he heavily injured 2 primal Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artists, he had even killed one of them. Mo Wutian did not have the slightest confidence that he could win against Evil Moon. Even if he joined forces with Judas, it would still be the same. Now that things had come to this point, the outcome was not something he could decide. Longao, I heard that you obtained a heaven-defying Primal Chaos Palace. Even Primal Chaos Reincarnation Realm martial artists cannot lock onto it. You are relying on this Primal Chaos Palace, right? Longao did not speak, but the expression on his face already explained everything. It was true. Longao had full confidence in his chaotic Dantian. If it had been just the Chaos Hall, Evil Moon might not have been able to lock onto it. But now, it was a completely different concept. The Primal Chaos Palace had already fused with his Dantian and formed a brand new Primal Chaos Dantian. Under such circumstances, even Evil Moon could not lock onto his Primal Chaos Dantian unless a Dao Vindication martial artist personally came. Ha ha ha, Longao, I also want to see the power of your Chaos Hall. But before that, you have to enter it first. Longao's heart skipped a beat. Of course, he knew what Evil Moon meant. According to the legends, Evil Moon had once roamed the Chaos Realm and obtained a heaven-defying Chaos Relic. It was called the Yin Kuan Space. It was said to be a self-contained space with great power. Evil Moon was able to fight 1 against 3, severely injuring 2 and killing 1. Aside from his own strength, the most important reason was the Yin Kuan Space. It was easy to imagine how powerful Evil Moon's Yin Kuan Space was. It would be a lie to say he didn't fear it. At this moment, Evil Moon turned to look at Duan Hun, who was beside Longao, and said with a smile, Duan Hun, I have to admit that your strength is already very strong. You can catch up with me if you go 1 step further. But now, you are not strong enough. I don't want to make things difficult for you. Evil Moon's words were very clear. On the other hand, Duan Hun would not pay attention to any other chaotic reincarnation realm warrior. Only Evil Moon, who was a legendary super expert, seemed to make Duan Hun fearful. But once he chose to leave, he would be embarrassed to continue to ask Longao for the other half of the 7th transformation cultivation method. In this way, he would not be able to reach the peak of the chaos reincarnation realm, let alone vindication. It was completely nonsense. But if he didn't leave, it was obvious that he would be an enemy of Evil Moon. He had no confidence in defeating Evil Moon. What's more, there were 3 other people beside Evil Moon, including the divine beast Zhuyin. Once the battle started, it was obvious what it would mean. His face became more and more ugly. For a moment, Duan Hun didn't know how to choose. Withdraw. Or continue. If he chose to give up and leave, it was equivalent to giving up the 9 transformation chaos formula. If he chose to continue to stay, there was no doubt that he chose to be an enemy of Evil Moon. Once he started the battle with Evil Moon, he would not even have the chance to regret it. Looking at the expression on Duan Hun's face, Evil Moon already knew what he was thinking. He sneered and asked coldly, You want to be my enemy? I don't dare. Duan Hun was very helpless. He looked at Longao beside him and said helplessly, Brother Long, please forgive me. It doesn't matter. Longao never thought that Duan Hun would help him. It was completely nonsense. If it weren't because he didn't want to completely fall out with Duan Hun, he wouldn't have done this. But this was also good. In this way, even if Duan Hun was thick-skinned, he believed that he would not ask for the 9 transformation chaos formula again in the future. Shrugging helplessly, Duan Hun turned and left, but he stood in the void 1,000 meters away. The reason why Duan Hun didn't leave was very simple. He also wanted to see how things would develop. From a certain point of view, Duan Hun didn't want Longao to die. After all, the 9 transformation chaos formula he had obtained was not complete. Chapter 3265. Mo Wutian, prepare your candle shade. His worst fears had come true. Wutian had been worried that Evil Moon would go after his candle shade. Now it seemed that Evil Moon had already considered the possibility. Silence. He'd be lying if he said he wasn't angry. Mo Wutian knew very well that if he chose to refuse, Evil Moon would definitely attack him. He was no match for Evil Moon, there was no doubt about it. What should he do? Should he just watch as Evil Moon took control of Candle Shade? Standing beside Mo Wutian, the Candle Shade godly beast naturally knew the severity of the situation. He looked at his boss with a deep gaze. He wasn't satisfied. Candle Shade didn't care how strong the enemy was. All he cared about was that he and his boss worked together. He didn't care if he died. Silence. There were some things that were meaningless if spoken aloud. Evil Moon didn't even look at Wutian. In his eyes, Wutian wasn't worth mentioning. From beginning to end, Evil Moon hadn't considered Wutian worthy of his attention. Candle Shade was a sure thing. The most important thing now was to deal with Longao. He needed to get his hands on the beast diagram and the 9 beasts. At the thought that he was about to obtain the legendary treasure and gather the 10 divine beasts of chaos, Evil Moon felt an indescribable excitement. If he could use this opportunity to prove himself, it would be a pleasant surprise. Longao, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the beast diagram and the 9 beasts, and you can leave. Otherwise, Evil Moon's intentions were clear. Longao understood. He snorted. Putting aside the Chaos Divine Beast diagram, how could he hand over the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts? That was too much. Even if he died, he wouldn't give up the 9 beasts. Evil Moon, I've said it before. If you want the beast diagram and the 9 beasts, you'll have to do it in your dreams. Good. Very good. Longao didn't stay. He knew in his heart that he couldn't fight Evil Moon and the others on his own. It was like throwing an egg against a stone. However, Longao did not enter his chaotic Dantian. If he entered the chaotic Dantian at this time, there would only be one result. Evil Moon would take advantage of this and lock onto his chaotic Dantian. At that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, it would be a different concept if he immediately entered the primal chaos Dantian at the beginning. If that was the case, Longao was confident that even Evil Moon could not lock onto his chaotic Dantian. But now, the situation was completely different. Before Evil Moon arrived, the universal space had already enveloped him. Longao could clearly feel that he had been enveloped in a strange space, and the aura was very strange. This was the legendary Chenkuan space. Are you scared? Seeing that the other party did not speak, Evil Moon thought that the other party was afraid. It could be said that Evil Moon knew nothing about Longao's reign in the chaotic realm. Even if he knew, what could he do? Evil Moon still wouldn't take him seriously. Evil Moon had been famous for a long time. In order to prove his Tao, he chose to cultivate in seclusion. In Evil Moon's opinion, unless a Tao-proving warrior came in person, no one below the Tao-proving realm could be his opponent. Seeing that the other party still did not speak, Evil Moon smiled and said, "In my universal space, I am the master." Is that so? Longao did not continue to hesitate. Since things had already come to this, a battle was inevitable. It was better to fight early than late. In this way, he might be able to seize the initiative. Otherwise, once he was at a disadvantage, the consequences would be unimaginable. You're courting death. Evil Moon did not take the other party seriously at all. He glanced at the 3 people behind him and said coldly, The three of you, attack and kill this person for me. Evil Moon did not want to act rashly. No matter what he did, he had already gotten the information about Longao. Anyway, there were 3 people here as vanguards, especially in his own Chenkuan space. There was no need for him to act personally. Since things had already come to this, the 3 of them had no other choice. Even Mo Wutian, although he was very unwilling, could only choose to agree. Without the slightest hesitation, the 3 of them, together with the divine beast Zhuyin, quickly rushed towards Longao. 4 chaotic Samsara realm warriors joining forces. It was obvious what it meant. If he could hide in the chaotic Dantian, not to mention 4 chaotic Samsara realm warriors at the same time, even if he had to face 40 chaotic Samsara realm warriors at the same time, Longao would not have any fear. But now, the situation was completely different. Because of the universal space, he could not step into the chaotic Dantian at all. If he did, he would definitely be locked on by Evil Moon. The consequences would be unimaginable. At this time, facing Mo Wutian and the other 3 at the same time was really troublesome. Fighting 1 against 4, Longao directly used his 4th great divine ability, Reincarnation Transcendence. One had to admit that the power of Reincarnation Transcendence was indeed very strong. If it had been before, Longao would not have been able to withstand more than 10 moves. However, after comprehending Reincarnation Transcendence, although his cultivation had not yet returned to the chaotic Samsara realm, his strength was enough to contend with chaotic Samsara realm warriors. Even so, 1 against 4 was not a long-term solution, especially in the universal space. However, Mo Wutian did not use his full strength. Until now, Mo Wutian had not thought of what to do. Of course, he hoped that Longao would be killed. However, if Longao fell, Evil Moon would definitely get the chaotic divine beast diagram and the 9 chaotic divine beasts. At that time, Evil Moon would go all out against him and snatch the divine beast Zhuyin. It would be a lie to say that he was not afraid. How should he choose? Evil Moon, who was watching from the side, sensed the power of Longao's great divine ability. His expression changed slightly, and greed was written all over his face. Of course, he could feel the power of the great divine ability that Longao possessed. If he could obtain such a great divine ability, it would be like adding wings to a tiger for him. Gradually, Evil Moon discovered more and more secrets on his opponent. It seemed that he had made the right decision to come out of seclusion this time. Otherwise, missing this opportunity would not have been a wise decision for him. The universal space in Evil Moon's hands was too powerful. Even if Longao tried to break through the universal space, it would be impossible for him to escape. Nangong Yin and the divine mathematician were pleasantly surprised. However, both of them had their own selfish motives. The 2 of them had already decided that they must snatch Longao's primordial spirit while killing Longao. Chapter 3266. Everyone had their own agendas. As the battle continued to escalate, Longao was starting to find it hard to hold on. 1 against 3 and a Chaos God Beast. Unless Longao's cultivation state could be restored to Chaos Reincarnation state, there was no way he could win. This was not the way to go. What should he do? No matter how hard he thought about it, he could not come up with a good idea. Longao's face was getting grimmer and grimmer. Reincarnation Transcendence alone was not going to do anything either. Just as Longao was being attacked continuously, suddenly, the situation changed. For some unknown reason, a gigantic vortex appeared within Longao's Chaos Dantian and started to spin wildly. An endless amount of chaos energy gushed out from his Chaos Dantian and started to envelop Longao. Lin Fan's heart leaped with joy. Longao had thought that he was doomed this time around. Against such a strong enemy, the slightest bit of carelessness could send him into a state of eternal damnation. Even so, Longao did not want to enter his Chaos Dantian. He knew clearly what it would mean if Evil Moon were to lock onto his Chaos Dantian. He would rather die than let Shuang, the 4 girls, and the 9 Chaos God Beasts suffer any losses. But now, the situation was different. Boom, boom, boom. Longao, who was starting to lose, suddenly found his strength skyrocketing for some unknown reason. Even though he was fighting 1 against 4, he still had the upper hand. What was going on? Even Evil Moon was surprised, let alone Mo Wutian and the other three. They did not know what was going on with Longao. Why would his strength skyrocket out of nowhere? If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it even if they were beaten to death. But the more it was so, the more greedy Evil Moon's face was. Evil Moon realized that there were more and more secrets on Lin Fan. Longao had not expected that his Chaos Dantian would burst forth with such a terrifying amount of chaos energy. Lin Fan's confidence was boosted. Using reincarnation transcendence once more, he was on a completely different level now. Even though he was fighting 1 against 4, Longao was not only defending against their attacks, he was even starting to counterattack. Senior Evil Moon, please make your move. If they were to go all out, Mo Wutian and the others might not even be able to defeat them. However, at this point in time, the three of them each had their own ulterior motives, and could not possibly go all out. Anyway, all the benefits would belong to Evil Moon when the time came. In that case, why should they go all out? Who knew what the situation was now? As the saying goes, it's better to be safe than sorry. If he went all out and provoked Longao, both sides would be injured, and he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. How could Evil Moon not know what the three were thinking? He was furious. However, this was not the time to be angry. Harumphing coldly, Zhongxian took a step forward. Even before he arrived, his terrifying might had already reached Zhongxian. Mo Wutian and the other two, as well as the Candle Shadow Godly Beast, retreated to the side. They too wanted to see just how terrifying the legendary Evil Moon was. Legends were always legends. As for how strong Evil Moon was, the three of them did not know. The three of them had made up their minds. As long as Evil Moon was not as powerful as they imagined, they would not hesitate to kill him. As long as he could get the universal space, he would no longer need Evil Moon to deal with Longao. But in the end, as the saying went, once an expert made his move, one would know if he was the real deal. Evil Moon's strength was indeed horrifying. The three of them could feel it. If it were just the three of them, even if they were to join forces, they might not be a match for Evil Moon, let alone one-on-one. Furthermore, Evil Moon had the universal space in his hands, a heaven-defying legendary weapon that could lock down even Longao. If it were the Longao from earlier on, it would be impossible for him to fight against Evil Moon. But now, the situation was different. Longao had borrowed the boundless power of chaos from the Chaos Hall to take on Evil Moon's attack head-on. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Longao suddenly burst out laughing maniacally. He knew clearly that the reason why he could hold on till now was not because of his strength, but because of his Chaos Dantian. The moment the Chaos Dantian stopped gushing out, it would be impossible for him to even take on Mo Wutian and the other two, let alone fight against Evil Moon. It would be best for him to make use of this opportunity to leave. Once his cultivation base broke through to the Chaos reincarnation state, he would have the strength to fight against Evil Moon. Evil Moon, I will be back. Trying to leave. Evil Moon's attacks were getting more and more frenzied. From the beginning to the end, he had not taken Lin Fan seriously. If Lin Fan could escape from his universal space alive, where would he put his face? Evil Moon had full confidence in his universal space. How could a puny chaos life and death warrior leave alive? That would be utter nonsense. With just you. Longao immediately continued to operate his Chaos Dantian. Not only that, he even borrowed the power of the Chaos Tree to protect his primordial spirit. Under such circumstances, who knew what would happen? But with the protection of the Chaos Tree, there was no need to worry about his primordial spirit being damaged. However, Longao had ultimately underestimated Evil Moon's strength and the power of the universal space. Even if his Chaos Dantian were to burst out with boundless Chaos Dantian, he could not break through the universal space and leave successfully. If this went on, it would be disastrous. What should he do? Longao's expression became more and more solemn. But at this time, Longao did not have the slightest hesitation. He had to end the battle quickly. Under such circumstances, the longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. The Chaos Axe appeared in his right hand. Since reaching the Chaos Realm, Longao had not used the Chaos Axe for a long time. In any case, the Chaos Axe was different from other Chaos Divine tools. The Chaos Axe was personally refined by him. If he wanted to continuously upgrade it, he would have to absorb more Chaos Force. Because of this, the Chaos Axe had been absorbing the Chaos Tree. After thousands of years, the power of the Chaos Axe had reached an extremely terrifying level. Longao also wanted to try and see if the power of the Chaos Axe could contend against Evil Moon, the last axe of the Chaos 9 axes. As early as when he comprehended the transcendence of reincarnation, Longao had successfully comprehended the Chaos 9th axe. After all, the last axe was integrated with the transcendence of reincarnation. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The entire universal space began to tremble violently. Seeing this, Mo Wutian and the other two retreated continuously. They looked at Longao in shock. They had underestimated Longao. With such a powerful attack, no one would be a match for Longao in a one-on-one battle. Could it be that Longao had been holding back before? Chapter 3267. Evil Moon was shocked as well. Longao's strength had far exceeded his knowledge. Longao, I have to admit that you are strong. But you're still just a chaotic life-and-death warrior. I'll let you know the difference between us. At this moment, Evil Moon truly wanted to kill Longao. And yet, Longao already possessed such power. It was hard to imagine. Once Longao's cultivation base broke through the chaos reincarnation state, what would he be like? When the time came, perhaps Longao could even fight against him. It would be a lie to say that Evil Moon wasn't worried. The next moment, the entire Qian Kuan space was filled with thunder and lightning. Dark clouds covered the sky as Evil Moon's attacks exploded. Let's join forces. At this point, even Evil Moon no longer cared about face. As long as he could kill Longao, what did face matter? Everyone only cared about the results. Who would care about the process? Wutian and the other two had not expected Longao to be this strong. The three of them, who had been watching the show from the sidelines, did not dare to hesitate. They joined forces with Evil Moon to deal with Longao. Even Wutian did not hold back. Although he did not want to see anything happen to Judas, Longao's talent and strength made him wary. Once Longao recovered to the chaotic reincarnation realm, not to mention the others, it was unknown whether even Evil Moon could contend against him. With the four of them and Judas working together, Longao, who had the upper hand, was once again at a disadvantage. Boom! 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 Under the continuous attacks, Longao's body was sent flying like a kite with its string cut. He fell heavily to the ground. Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! The four of them laughed maniacally as they looked at Longao. Now that things had come to this, Longao was dead for sure. Longao, you no longer have a chance. Even if you're willing to hand over what I want, you're still going to die. Nangong Yin and Master God Diviner were pleasantly surprised. As long as Evil Moon could kill Longao, they would be able to control Longao's primordial spirit as fast as possible. As for Evil Moon, at that time, as long as they could practice the 9 Revolution Chaos formula and master all kinds of secrets, they could hide and practice. Once their strength made continuous breakthroughs, would they still need to fear Evil Moon? It was complete nonsense. As for Mo Wutian, with Longao's death, Evil Moon had acquired the Chaos Beast diagram. That meant Evil Moon would turn against Judas. Can Judas fight Evil Moon? Can I compete with Evil Moon? The result was obvious. Longao didn't say anything. He just looked coldly at the crowd in front of him. Just as Evil Moon was about to make a move, the situation suddenly changed. A ball of light suddenly appeared behind Longao. In just a few seconds, it had already condensed into a figure. Huh! Looking at the figure before him, Longao was dumbfounded. He never would have guessed that the figure behind him was none other than his own master, Master Shenyuan Invincible. Mo Wutian and the others didn't know who Master Shenyuan was, but that didn't mean Evil Moon didn't. Evil Moon stared at the figure behind Longao and bowed respectfully. Master Shenyuan. Mo Wutian and the others were dumbfounded by Evil Moon's attitude. They didn't know what was going on. Why was Evil Moon behaving like this? Evil Moon, this ends here. Impossible. Of course, Evil Moon knew that the current Shenyuan Bubai was only a remnant soul and not the original body. Of course, he didn't know that Shenyuan Bubai had already fallen. He was still wondering why Shenyuan Bubai had appeared out of nowhere and why a remnant soul had appeared. You want to go against my will? I wouldn't dare. Master Shenyuan, this is between me and Longao. I'll do as you say. Before Evil Moon could finish, Shenyuan Invincible said coldly, "Scram." Mo Wu Tian and the others were dumbfounded. The three of them had already guessed that the remnant of Longao's soul was most likely a Dao Vindication cultivator. Otherwise, with Evil Moon's strength, how could he be so afraid of this person? Dao Vindication cultivators were legendary existences. Because of this, the three of them had never imagined that a Dao Vindication cultivator would help Longao. It was completely inconceivable. The other party was just a remnant of his soul. Whether or not he was a Dao Vindication cultivator, he didn't have any deterrence. Not only that, as long as they could devour the remnant of a Dao Vindication cultivator, it would greatly benefit their Dao Vindication. The three of them didn't know what was going on with Evil Moon. Didn't Evil Moon know the benefits of devouring a Dao Vindication cultivator? In just an instant, the three of them had already guessed what Evil Moon was thinking. If there were no surprises, Evil Moon wouldn't dare to say whether the Dao Vindication cultivator had really fallen. If the Dao Vindication cultivator hadn't fallen, then it would be troublesome. No matter how powerful a primal chaos reincarnation cultivator was, they were like ants in front of a Dao Vindication cultivator. As long as a Dao Vindication cultivator wanted to, killing a primal chaos reincarnation cultivator would be as easy as playing a game. Even a powerful existence like Evil Moon was no exception. Just as the three of them had guessed, the biggest reason why Evil Moon was so respectful and didn't dare to make a move was because he wasn't sure whether Shenyuan Invincible had fallen or not. After all, it was very difficult for a Dao Vindication cultivator to fall. Up until now, he had never heard of a Dao Vindication cultivator falling. Master, please. Evil Moon immediately withdrew his Chenkuan space. Mo Wutian and the other two wanted to say something, but Evil Moon had already disappeared. The three of them didn't dare to gamble. If they won the gamble, then everything would be fine. If they lost the gamble, then they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Master. Looking at the remnant soul of Shenyuan Invincible in front of him, Longao didn't know what to say for a moment. His master had completely disappeared back then, but he never expected that his master would appear at this time and even save his life. Your master had indeed disappeared before, but I didn't expect that the chaos tree you obtained would preserve a trace of your master's primordial spirit. That's why my primordial spirit could be preserved until now. It turned out that it was all because of the chaos tree. As the #1 treasure in the chaos realm, it was really amazing that it could preserve a trace of his master's primordial spirit. However, Longao knew very well that the reason why his master's primordial spirit could be preserved was not only because of the strength of the chaos tree, but also because his master was a Dao Vindication cultivator. His primordial spirit was not comparable to that of an ordinary chaotic martial artist. Chapter 3268. Longao didn't stay any longer. Evil Moon left not because of himself, but because he was afraid of his master. In the end, Evil Moon wasn't sure if his master had really fallen. There was no doubt about it. If Evil Moon knew that his master had fallen and only existed as a remnant soul, the consequences would be unimaginable. The primordial spirit of a Dao-proving warrior was the greatest benefit for any chaotic martial artist. Evil Moon had already reached the peak of the chaotic reincarnation realm. If he devoured his master's primordial spirit, he might succeed in Dao-proving realm. He returned to his chaotic Dantian. Only at this moment did Longao truly heave a sigh of relief. Demon Palace. In the main hall. Evil Moon's face was gloomy and as ugly as it could get. Evil Moon never expected that Shenyuan Bubai would suddenly appear. Although he already felt that Shenyuan Bubai was only a remnant soul, he still didn't dare to attack. If Shenyuan Bubai really didn't fall, he would definitely die. Facing a Dao-proving warrior, he knew what it meant. What do you think? Mo Wutian and the other two were very uncomfortable, but they had no choice. Under such circumstances, they could only endure. The three of them knew that once Evil Moon killed Longao and got what he wanted, he would leave. If they couldn't endure it, offending Evil Moon wasn't a wise move. Senior, according to my guess, if nothing unexpected happened, Shenyuan Bubai has already died. Only a remnant soul has appeared. The three of them already knew Shenyuan Bubai's identity. Sure enough, Shenyuan Bubai was a doctrine vindication warrior. The more it was so, the more the three of them could not figure out why a doctrine vindication warrior would help Longao. They really couldn't figure it out. Senior, if Shenyuan Bubai hadn't fallen, we wouldn't have left so easily. Evil Moon nodded. How could he not know what the three of them meant? If Shenyuan Bubai has fallen, then why didn't Longao devour his primordial spirit? This was what Evil Moon couldn't figure out the most. Everyone knew very well what a primordial spirit left behind by a Dao-proving warrior meant. If one could devour the primordial spirit of a Dao-proving warrior, they might succeed in Dao-proving realm. That was the reason. Why didn't Longao devour Shenyuan Bubai's primordial spirit? The three of them looked at each other. They already knew what Evil Moon was thinking. Master God Diviner thought for a moment and said, Senior, the relationship between the two of them might not be simple. He waved his hand. Evil Moon said coldly, Go and find out what's going on for me. Yes. As dignified chaotic samsara warriors, the three of them were very unwilling to listen to Evil Moon's orders. But so what if he was unwilling? Even if the three of them joined forces, plus the Zhuyin divine beast, they might not be a match for Evil Moon. There was no need to provoke Evil Moon. The news of Evil Moon and the other three fighting Longao quickly spread throughout the 99 heavens of the Chaos Realm. Everyone had already received the news that just as Longao was about to die, the primordial spirit of a martial artist had suddenly descended, scaring away Evil Moon and the others. Martial artist of Dao validation? Anyone who received the news was shocked, because everyone knew what it meant to be a martial artist. It was a legendary existence. No one could understand why Longao would have the help of a martial artist. Even though it was only a primordial spirit, it was still no small matter. Even the four primal chaos samsara warriors were scared away. From this, one could imagine how terrifying a martial artist was. This martial artist was Shenyuan Bubai. Many people knew Shenyuan Bubai, but they never thought that Shenyuan Bubai was actually a legendary martial artist. The one who was most shocked was Jiyu Hao. After searching for so many years, he still couldn't find the whereabouts of Shenyuan Bubai. Other than wanting to obtain the Burning Heart Lotus, Jiyu Hao also wanted to devour his master's primordial spirit. If that was the case, he might have a chance to succeed. It was just that after so many years of being clueless, he didn't expect that Shenyuan Bubai's primordial spirit would actually appear at this time. Others might not know, but as Shenyuan Bubai's disciple, Jiyu Hao naturally knew that his master had already fallen, and had truly fallen. No matter how powerful the primordial spirit of a fallen martial artist was, it was impossible for him to be a match for a primal chaos samsara warrior. There was no doubt about that. The chance had come. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. Soon. Evil Moon and the others had already received the news regarding the matter between Shenyuan Bubai and Jiyu Hao. They knew that Shenyuan Bubai had truly fallen, which meant that the remnant soul that appeared before was a true primordial spirit. Facing a primordial spirit, even if it was the primordial spirit of a martial artist, Evil Moon and the others did not have the slightest bit of fear. Not only were they not afraid, they were instead pleasantly surprised, because everyone knew what it meant to devour the primordial spirit of a martial artist. However, since he already knew that Shenyuan Bubai had truly fallen, there was no harm to him at all. Evil Moon was very regretful. If he had bet on his luck before, he might have already devoured Shenyuan Bubai's luck. However, it was too late to regret now. Evil Moon's face was gloomy. The primal chaos realm was boundless, and it was easier said than done to find a needle in the sea. As if he could guess what Evil Moon was thinking, the divine mathematician said, Senior, Longao's base is in the Blackstone heavenly region. At this point, the divine mathematician did not continue speaking, But the meaning behind his words was already very clear. Evil Moon was not a fool. How could he not understand the meaning behind his words? Evil Moon suddenly stood up and said coldly, "I don't believe that you can play any tricks." In the next second, Evil Moon's figure had already disappeared. Until now. Mo Wutian's face finally turned cold. He stared at the two people in front of him and said coldly, "What do you two mean by this? Do you know what it means to do this behind my back?" The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. There was no doubt that once Evil Moon killed Longao and obtained the Chaos Divine Beast diagram and the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts, he would definitely turn around to deal with him and the Zhuyin Divine Beast. At that time, everything would be fine if he handed over the Zhuyin Divine Beast. Nangong Yin and the Divine Mathematician did not put him in their eyes. As long as they could kill Longao and obtain the 9 Revolution Chaos Technique, everything would be worth it. So what if they provoked Mo Wutian? In this world, there were no eternal enemies, and no eternal friends, only benefits. Previously, they had a common enemy, Longao, so they had temporarily joined forces. Now that Longao was going to die, was there a need to continue working together? Chapter 3269. Mo Wutian, what's the point of sacrificing Judas to deal with Longao? That's right, Mo Wutian. Don't try to provoke us. Otherwise, it won't just be Judas, it'll be you. The murderous aura emanating from Master Clairvoyant and Nangong Yin made their stance clear. If Mo Wutian had the Candle Shadow Beast, then the outcome of the battle would be unknown. But now, the two didn't put Mo Wutian in their eyes. It was almost certain. Once Evil Moon finished dealing with Longao, he'd move on to Judas. Without Judas' help, how could Mo Wutian defeat the two of them? You two. He waved a hand. Master Clairvoyant's voice was cold. Mo Wutian, if you know what's good for you, we'll pretend nothing ever happened. If you're looking for trouble, we'll entertain you. As soon as he finished speaking, the two didn't linger. They got up and left the palace. The reason why they stayed in the Demon Palace was mainly to deal with Longao. The current Longao, thinking about it, knew what kind of consequences there would be. There was no point in continuing to stay. Mo Wutian stared at the departing pair. His fists were clenched tight, and his heart was filled with endless rage. So what if he was angry? Facing 2 primal chaos reincarnation martial artists, just relying on his own strength was not enough to win. Once they broke all pretense of cordiality, he'd go for wool and come home shorn, much less kill them. Did he really have to sacrifice Judas? After Nangong Yin and Master Clairvoyant left the palace, they hurried back to Blackstone as quickly as possible. They'd already made up their minds to seize Longao's primordial spirit as soon as they could. For the sake of proving their Tao, they didn't hesitate to provoke Evil Moon. Anyway, the chaotic world was so big. If they wanted to hide, it would not be easy for Evil Moon to find them in the vast sea of people, no matter how powerful he was. Blackstone Domain. Longao hadn't yet returned to Blackstone, and he didn't expect Evil Moon's status to be so high as to make a move against his people. Evil Moon's figure appeared, his cold eyes fixed on Dragon Peak below. Longao, get your ass out here. His voice rolled out, echoing throughout the world. Countless disciples appeared on Dragon Peak. They all looked up at the towering figure in the sky, unsure of who he was. With Dragon Peak's current strength, someone daring to provoke them. Did he want to die? Although Dragon Sect's sect leader Longao's cultivation had not broken through to Primal Chaos Reincarnation Realm, his strength was enough to contend against Primal Chaos Reincarnation Realm ancient martial art practitioners. What did that mean? The 5 Elements Patriarch rushed out and arrived in the blink of an eye. Senior, may I know why you are looking for our sect master? If you don't appear in 3 seconds, I'll destroy the Dragon Sect. The elementals, Evil Moons. Of course, he could clearly sense that the other party's aura was far above his own. In the absence of the Sect Master and Madam Sect Master, he did not even have a chance to resist against a chaotic Samsara realm warrior. What should he do? It seems. Before Evil Moon finished speaking, the 5 Elements Patriarch directly disappeared with the help of the Chaos 5 Element Stone. Do you want to leave? Evil Moon waved his hand at the 5 elementals, who was thousands of meters away. The 5 elementals screamed, and his body fell. Evil Moon knew very well that there were only 2 possibilities. Either Longao was not in the Dragon Peak at all, or Longao was too scared to come out. No matter what the situation was, he did not want to see it. Destroy the entire Dragon Sect. No one in Dragon Sect could contend with Evil Moon. With just one move, hundreds of thousands of disciples were wiped out. The news of Dragon Sect being massacred instantly spread throughout the chaotic world. Everyone was shocked. After all, Longao and Qin Shuangshuang were equivalent to 2 chaotic reincarnation realm martial artists. Not to mention ordinary people, even other superforces would not dare to do so casually. There was only one consequence of doing so, and that was to incur the wrath of Longao. Who was the other party? When everyone found out that the person who destroyed the Dragon Sect was actually the legendary Evil Moon, the strongest person under the Dao validation, everyone sighed because Evil Moon's strength was too strong. Not to mention Longao, even if several other primal chaos reincarnation warriors joined forces, it was impossible to be his opponent. Evil Moon was too strong. No wonder he dared to destroy Dragon Sect. Longao, who got the news, rushed back to Blackstone Heavenly Region as fast as he could, but he didn't appear recklessly. With his current strength, he couldn't compete with Evil Moon. If he fought with him, he knew what the consequences would be. In an extremely dilapidated town in Blackstone Heavenly Region. Inside the inn. Looking at the 5 elements old ancestor who was lying on the bed with his life or death unknown, Longao was extremely gloomy. When the 5 elements old ancestor escaped and entered a state of unconsciousness, he sent a distress signal to himself. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to find the traces of the 5 elements old ancestor in such a short period of time. Brother Long, don't worry. 5 elemental ancestor is fine. After Longao's all-out treatment, 5 elemental ancestor's life was finally saved. Among the Chaos Reincarnation Warriors, 5 elemental ancestor's strength could definitely be ranked in the top 10. But in the end, he couldn't even withstand one move from an expert like Evil Moon. Longao nodded. At this time, 5 elemental ancestor coughed twice and gradually woke up. Looking at the 2 people in front of him, 5 elemental ancestor endured the bursts of pain in his body and roughly explained what had happened before. I already know. It's safer here. You can rest here quietly and put aside the matter of Dragon Sect. 5 elemental ancestor certainly knew what Longao meant. He nodded and fainted again. After the 2 left, Qin Shuangshuang asked, Brother Long, what are you going to do next? In fact, Qin Shuangshuang had already guessed Longao's idea. In this case, continuing to restore Dragon Sect was unrealistic and meaningless. In the face of Evil Moon's formidable strength, even if Dragon Sect could be restored, what could it do? Shuangshuang, if there is no accident, Evil Moon should have already known about the news of Master's death. Unless my cultivation base can smoothly restore to the Chaos Reincarnation Realm, otherwise, we can't contend with Evil Moon at all. Qin Shuangshuang also had a helpless expression on her face. According to Longao's talent, he should have already broken through to the Chaos Reincarnation Realm. But in the end, after thousands of years, Longao's cultivation base still hadn't broken through. It was a bit strange. Even Longao himself couldn't explain it clearly and didn't know what was going on. Chapter 3270. Very helpless. Longao's face was particularly solemn. Of course, he knew what it meant if he could not make a breakthrough in his cultivation. The months of evil had already exceeded his expectations. Mo Wutian and the others could not be compared with Evil Moon at all. Inside the chaotic Dantian, Longao sat quietly alone. This incident seemed to be a big blow to him. Without a strong strength as a guarantee, everything was nonsense. Evil Moon destroyed the entire Dragon Sect with just one move. Now that he thought about it, he felt scared. If he had not destroyed the 9 chaos channels before, Evil Moon would have locked on to Dragon Soaring Starry Sky. He knew what the consequences would have been. Although he was depressed. Until now, Longao did not know why he could not make a breakthrough in his cultivation. It was too strange. With regards to his own talent, Longao had full confidence. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was not right. His own chaotic sacred body alone was not the biggest obstacle to his breakthrough. What was the reason? He could not figure it out. He really could not figure it out. On the other side of the chaotic Dantian. Sister Shuang, is Brother Ao okay? Looking at Brother Long, who was sitting calmly and motionlessly, Yun Qian and the others were very worried. They did not know what had happened at all. But the three vaguely guessed that the biggest reason why Brother Long was so upset was that he could not make a breakthrough in his realm. No matter who it was, they would definitely be the same. After 3,000 years of closed-door cultivation, he still could not break through the final bottleneck. Qin Shuang shook her head helplessly, sighed and said, I don't know, but it is a bit strange that Brother Long could not make a breakthrough in such a long time. Under normal circumstances, Longao's cultivation had to break through the chaotic reincarnation realm to be able to comprehend the fourth great power, the peak of reincarnation transcendence. But now, Longao's cultivation had not broken through the chaotic reincarnation realm, but he had successfully comprehended reincarnation transcendence. It was a bit strange. In the end, Longao stood up and sighed deeply. No matter how he thought about it, he still could not figure out the reason. Brother Long, are you okay? He shrugged helplessly. Longao forced a smile and said, it's nothing. I just don't understand why I'm stuck at a bottleneck. Qin Shuang was also stunned. She knew what Brother Long meant. His cultivation base had already reached the pinnacle of the primal chaos samsara realm. He was just one step away from breaking through the primal chaos samsara realm. However, this was the final step. He could already rule out the possibility that his cultivation could not break through the primal chaos reincarnation realm not because of the primal chaos sacred body. Brother Long, what should we do now? If his cultivation base couldn't return to the chaotic reincarnation realm, it meant that he couldn't fight against Evil Moon and the others. He couldn't even kill Mo Wutian and the others. If this continued, it wouldn't work. Long Ao didn't say anything else because the current situation was very unfavorable to them. It was just as Long Ao had guessed. Ever since Evil Moon destroyed the Dragon Sect, he had not left the Blackstone Heavenly region. In his opinion, as long as Long Ao received the news of the destruction of the Dragon Sect, he would definitely come back. But what was the result? Whether it was Evil Moon on the surface or Nangong Yin and the marvelous mathematician behind the scenes, they had already guessed that under such circumstances, as long as Long Ao wasn't out of his mind, he wouldn't come back casually. In the vast sea of people, trying to find a trace of a person was like looking for a needle in the sea. Although the three of them were all primal chaos reincarnation realm warriors, they didn't have their own strength. In this way, it was more and more difficult to lock onto a person's trace. This was also the most troublesome thing for the three of them. The destruction of the Dragon Sect, the arrival of a primordial spirit realm warrior, and Long Ao was almost killed. These three things were like a tornado, sweeping through the entire 99 heavenly regions of the primal chaos realm. There was a lot of discussion everywhere. Long Ao had disappeared, and Evil Moon and the others were chasing after Long Ao. Even if they had the help of a primordial spirit realm warrior, it was still nonsense. No matter how powerful a primordial spirit realm warrior was, a primordial spirit realm warrior was not enough. Not to mention a powerful existence like Evil Moon, even an ordinary primal chaos reincarnation realm warrior could easily destroy a primordial spirit realm warrior. Not only that, everyone knew that if they could successfully devour a primordial spirit realm warrior, they might be able to use the primordial spirit realm warrior to successfully validate their Tao. Everyone knew that Evil Moon and the others were so anxious to kill Long Ao. In addition to their own grievances, the more important reason was that a primordial spirit realm warrior had appeared beside Long Ao. It was just as everyone had guessed. For Evil Moon, as long as he could devour Shenyuan Bubai's primordial spirit, he didn't care about the 9 revolution chaos formula, the chaos divine beast diagram, and the 9 divine beasts of chaos. Because of this, Evil Moon was regretting to the extreme. If he had gambled before, he might have succeeded in validating his Tao. However, it was too late to regret now. If he wanted to devour a primordial spirit realm warrior, he had to find Long Ao. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. Han Wu and Kang Ye also received the news, But the two of them didn't intervene in this matter. What evil moon meant, the two of them were very clear in their hearts. If they forcefully intervened, it would definitely attract a lot of trouble. They simply didn't want to offend Evil Moon for a Longao. It was unknown if it was because they were afraid of Evil Moon. No matter if it was the Domain Lords Alliance or the Pill Hall, they all began to stop fighting. Jiyu Hao and Mo Wutian were the same. The primal chaos world returned to its previous calm. Soul Break Valley. Duan Hun was very depressed. Of course, he knew that the 9 revolution chaos formula that Longao taught him was still lacking the last step. It was also the most crucial step. Without this step, even if he cultivated to the peak, it was still nonsense. If it was in the past, he would still have the nerve to speak. But now, no matter how thick his face was, he wasn't willing to continue speaking. The more he thought about it, the more depressed he became. If it was any other primal chaos reincarnation realm warrior, even if it was the god of slaughter Duanmu Jin, he wouldn't be afraid. Only this legendary Evil Moon. If Evil Moon really killed Longao, it would be difficult for him to obtain the complete 9 revolution chaos formula in the future. Duan Hun tried to perfect the 9 revolution chaos formula himself, but in the end, he found that he still underestimated Longao's talent. He couldn't perfect this cultivation technique. It was really a pain in the ass. What should he do? Should he provoke Evil Moon for Longao? If he couldn't defeat Evil Moon, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret. At this moment, Duan Hun was in a dilemma. No matter what, it was his fault. After all, Longao didn't say anything and passed the 9 revolution chaos formula to him. It was already far beyond his expectations. Chapter 3271. Soul Break Valley. Looking at Longao, who suddenly appeared in front of him, Duan Hun stood up directly with a face full of disbelief. Duan Hun would never have thought that Longao would appear at this time. Brother Long, he waved his hand. Longao certainly knew what Duan Hun meant. He felt that this person was not bad. Although he was both good and evil, compared to the marvelous mathematician and others, he was still very good. Duan Hun, I came to you this time mainly to tell you that the 9 revolution chaos formula I taught you before is not real at all. Huh? He was a little confused. What was going on? Duan Hun didn't know what Longao meant. Why did he tell him all of a sudden? According to normal circumstances. Since the 9 revolution chaos formula taught by the other party was fake, Longao shouldn't have told him. Brother Long, what are you doing? Duan Hun, forgive me for being blunt. I still have some grudges with you before. It's impossible for me to hand over the 9 revolution chaos formula for no reason. What do you think? Duan Hun nodded. Although he didn't say anything, he agreed. Longao's meaning was very simple. He just wanted to make friends with Duan Hun. Now my situation is very bad. I believe you also know that I want to make friends with you. I don't know if you are willing. Go on. Duan Hun didn't express his attitude clearly because he knew very well what kind of friend Longao was talking about. Life and death friends. Before, not to mention Longao, even Duan Hun didn't treat Longao as a friend. Otherwise, when Evil Moon and others wanted to deal with Longao, he wouldn't have stood back. I can help you create a suitable cultivation method for you according to your situation. Before Longao finished speaking, the situation suddenly changed. A terrifying aura descended. Evil Moon looked at the two people in front of him coldly. The universe space had already enveloped the entire Soul Break Valley in an instant. As for whether Longao was in Soul Break Valley, Evil Moon didn't have full confidence. However, the chaotic world was too big. It was too difficult to lock onto Longao's position. Looks like my luck is pretty good. Looking at Evil Moon in front of them, both Duan Hun and Longao were shocked. The Soul Break Valley had been enveloped by the Chenkuan space. Longao did not care much about Evil Moon's strength. The only thing he was afraid of was the Chenkuan space in Evil Moon's hands. Once he was enveloped by the Chenkuan space, he would not be able to enter the chaotic Dantian. Longao naturally knew what it meant for him to be unable to enter the chaotic Dantian. He felt helpless. Longao, do you still want to run? I never thought of running. Ha ha ha, Looks like my luck is pretty good. Longao, seeing that your cultivation is not easy, I can give you a chance. Longao didn't speak, and neither did Duan. In Evil Moon's opinion, Longao must be afraid if he didn't speak. Previously, he was able to run away because he wasn't sure if Shenyuan Bubai was alive or dead. Now, he was sure that it was impossible for Longao to leave alive. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. Longao, I can give up your 9 revolution chaos formula. I can also give up your chaos divine beast diagram and the 9 chaos divine beasts. Longao wasn't very interested in these because even if he got them, it was still unknown whether he could succeed in proving his Tao. However, proving his Tao was a different concept. If he could devour the Tao proving primordial spirit, his chances of success would be much higher. Longao, as long as you hand over the Tao proving primordial spirit. T. Before Evil Moon could finish speaking, Longao had already said coldly. Even if Evil Moon was a Tao proving warrior, he could do whatever he wanted, not to mention that Evil Moon was only in the chaotic reincarnation realm. Instead of being angry, he laughed. Longao, I have to admit that your courage is commendable, but it doesn't matter. I will search your soul later. I just hope you won't regret it. Evil Moon didn't continue to talk nonsense. Instead, he looked at Duan, who was beside Longao. His meaning was very simple. Although his strength could firmly suppress Duan, he still didn't want to completely fall out with Duan unless it was a last resort. Duan was not a fool. Of course, he knew what Evil Moon meant. If it were in the past, he would definitely choose to compromise without hesitation. For Longao, he chose to provoke Evil Moon. As long as he was not stupid, he would definitely not do that. But now, Longao had just said that he could tailor a cultivation method that was most suitable for him. If it was someone else who said this, he would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Only Longao. Duan already believed in Longao's words. Throughout the entire chaotic realm, not everyone could create the 9 revolution chaos formula. After thinking about it, Duan nodded and said, "The grievances between you have nothing to do with me. Goodbye." It seemed that he didn't want to say anything more. Duan turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. Longao was also very helpless. He originally thought that Duan was a good person and could make friends with him. Now it seemed that he thought too much. But after thinking about it, he felt relieved. If he faced an ordinary chaotic samsara warrior, it would be fine. But in the face of a powerful existence like Evil Moon, it was normal for him to choose to retreat. He and Duan were not only not friends, but even had some grievances. It could be said that in this case, it was very good that Duan did not hit him when he was down. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Evil Moon liked this feeling very much. Although he had not dealt with Duan, he had heard various legends about him. An expert of this level was infinitely close to him, but there was still a certain gap. Looking at Duan running away, Evil Moon looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Longao, I'm giving you one last chance. Hand over your primordial spirit and everything you have, and I can let you go. Unless it was a last resort, Evil Moon still did not want to use force. Who knew what Duan would do? What he wanted most now was Shenyuan Bubai's primordial spirit. As for Longao's life and death, he did not care at all. Thinking that he was about to get his primordial spirit, Evil Moon had a deep excitement. After so many years of closed-door cultivation, he had been unable to succeed. Now that things had come to this, even if there was a little hope of success, he would never choose to give up easily. Longao was very depressed. As long as he could not think of a way to deal with the Chenkuan space, he would always be at a disadvantage. The more he thought about it, the more depressed he became. Do you want to die? Evil Moon, do you think you will win this time? Hearing Duan's words, Evil Moon's heart moved. Could it be that Duan still had something to rely on? Evil Moon was more or less afraid of this legendary super genius who was infinitely close to becoming a primordial spirit. Chapter 3272. Right at this moment, the entire Soulbreak Valley was suddenly filled with wind and rain, lightning and thunder. Before Evil Moon could react, Longao's figure had disappeared in an instant. Ha ha ha, Evil Moon, it seems that you're going to regret it. If Evil Moon had attacked crazily from the beginning, it would be a different concept. But now, the situation was completely different. Looking around, there was no one. Evil Moon's face instantly turned gloomy, as ugly as it could get. If Longao was in his heyday, according to the legend, he might really be able to contend with him. But now, it was all nonsense. What was going on? Was the Chaos Palace in his hands really so heaven-defying? If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed that a little chaotic life and death warrior could disappear under his nose. Evil Moon had full confidence in his Chenkuan space. He could not figure it out. Was it Duan Hun? Suddenly, Evil Moon seemed to think of something, and his face became gloomier. Soul Break Cliff, tens of thousands of meters underground. In a huge cave residence. Looking at Duan Hun in front of him, Longao said with a smile, "Thank you." Longao never thought that Duan Hun would help him at the critical moment. He was still thinking about how to deal with Evil Moon when Duan Hun's voice came into his mind. It seemed that Duan Hun had chosen him in the end. He looked helpless. Duan Hun still had a lingering fear of Evil Moon's strength and the power of the Chenkuan space. He said helplessly, "Brother Long, I'll be your friend. But with all due respect, I can resist Evil Moon in the Soulbreak Valley, but once I leave the Soulbreak Valley." Speaking of this, Duan Hun did not continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. "I understand. Then what should we do next?" Duan Hun was ready. Once he helped Longao, it was equivalent to completely angering Evil Moon, and he knew what it meant. Although Duan Hun was very confident in his strength, facing Evil Moon, he had no confidence at all. He was helpless. Restore the realm with all your strength. There was only one way to contend with Evil Moon, and that was to restore his realm as fast as possible. Once his cultivation base successfully broke through the chaotic reincarnation realm, he would be able to contend with Evil Moon. The title of the number one person below Dao confirming was not just for show. Longao was also looking forward to it. Once his cultivation broke through to the primal chaos reincarnation realm, he would be able to fight with Evil Moon at full strength. Brother Long, I'm also very curious. With your talent and situation, why are you still stuck at the chaotic life and death realm after thousands of years? Duan Hun couldn't figure it out either. It was a little strange. Those who had fallen and entered the cycle of reincarnation had basically all recovered to the primal chaos reincarnation realm. Except for Longao. There was something fishy about this. Shrugging helplessly, Longao smiled helplessly and said, "I also want to know what is going on. Duan Hun, I will stay here for a while." All right. The two of them were very clear that they could not go out at this time. Once Evil Moon locked onto this cave residence, they knew what it meant. In the following period of time, Longao did his best to create a cultivation technique for Duan Hun, tailoring and creating the most suitable cultivation technique. Duan Hun's most powerful attack was the primordial spirit attack. Based on this, Longao directly created a soul-breaking divine art for him. In the beginning, Duan Hun didn't quite believe it. After all, to create the most suitable cultivation technique according to each person's situation sounded a little unbelievable. However, his intuition told him that Longao wouldn't fool him, especially at this time. He regarded Longao as a true friend. If so, Longao wouldn't be too kind and wouldn't be able to explain it to his friend. About 3 months later, Duan Hun was completely confused because his doubts at the beginning had completely disappeared. He could clearly feel that the Duan Hun divine art that Longao had tailor-made for him was in defiance of the natural order. He believed that he would be able to reach the level of Evil Moon in the future if he practiced this technique. How could he not be excited? How could he not be excited? Brother Long, thank you so much. With this cultivation technique of yours, even if I can't succeed in the Dao confirming realm in the future, I believe that I will be infinitely close to it. Ha ha ha. Give me enough time and I will even have the strength to fight against Evil Moon. Dao confirming realm. When it came to Dao confirming realm, Longao had a deep sense of helplessness. In any case, he was only one step away from succeeding in Dao confirming realm. However, this last step was stopped abruptly and he almost died. Longao didn't say much and said, "Duan Hun, Evil Moon has left. You stay here and cultivate." Of course, Duan Hun knew what Longao meant. Although Sheue had left, he couldn't guarantee that Sheue had really left. God knew where Sheue was hiding. Duan Hun was no longer the same as before. He forcibly intervened in Longao's matter. If there was no accident, once he appeared and was locked by Sheue, Sheue would definitely deal with him. With his current strength, he was still no match for Evil Moon. Duan Hun said worriedly, "Brother Long, with all due respect, if you go out and meet Evil Moon in your current situation, you will be in danger. If it weren't for the terrain of Soulbreak Valley and his countless years of arrangements, it wouldn't have been easy to escape Evil Moon's targeting. If Longao was at his peak, he might have had a chance against Evil Moon. However, now, Longao was only a chaotic life and death expert. Facing Evil Moon, he would only die. It was obviously not the best time to go out now. Duan Hun couldn't figure out why Longao was in such a hurry to leave. He really couldn't figure it out. "Duan Hun, I have very important things to do. I can't stay here forever. If Evil Moon keeps guarding outside Soulbreak Valley, I won't be able to stay here forever. Don't worry, as long as I'm not shrouded by the universe space, there won't be any problem for me." Longao had full confidence in this. As long as he wasn't shrouded by the universe space, he could enter his chaotic Dantian at any time. In this way, it was almost impossible for Evil Moon to target him. Since things had already come to this, Duan Hun also knew that he couldn't say anything more. He nodded and said, "Then you must be careful." Okay. He didn't continue to stay. He didn't know what was going on with his situation. However, no matter what price he had to pay, the most important thing was to do everything possible to smoothly break through the chaotic reincarnation realm. Chapter 3273. It was just as Longao and Duan Hun had guessed. Instead of leaving, Evil Moon had been guarding Duan Hun Valley. By now, Evil Moon knew that the person who had saved Longao was definitely Duan Hun. He was furious. Killing intent filled the air. He had failed to kill Longao twice in succession, let alone devouring the so-called primordial spirit. Waiting for the rabbit. Evil Moon thought that the two of them would definitely leave Duan Hun. Although he did not know what was going on and how the two of them could escape from his Chen Kuan space. "Evil Moon, I will definitely make you pay for today's grudge double in the future." Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Following a burst of laughter, Longao's voice disappeared completely. Left. Of course, Evil Moon knew that Longao had a Chaos Palace in his hands. It was said that even Chaos Reincarnation martial artists could not lock onto it. From this, one could imagine how heaven-defying this Chen Kuan Palace was. Instead of being angry, he laughed. Evil Moon knew that as long as the other party's cultivation base did not recover to Chaos Reincarnation state, he would always be able to suppress the other party. Chaos Palace. 9 Revolutions Chaos Mantra. Chaos Mythical Beast Diagram and 9 Chaos Mythical Beasts. Essence Spirit. The other party had quite a number of treasures on him. If he could kill the other party and obtain these items, it would definitely be of great help to his Dao. Evil Moon did not care about Duan Hun's life or death. If he had time in the future, he could come back to deal with Duan Hun. But now was obviously not the time. It was more important to deal with Longao. Longao, who had left successfully, had a bad feeling in his heart. It was as though someone had been following him. Could it be Evil Moon? He did not dare to be careless and immediately entered his Chaos Dantian to check his body. If he did not check, he would not know. Now that he checked, he was shocked. Longao finally discovered just where the inkling went wrong. So, when Longao was shrouded in the Chen Kuan space, Evil Moon had already left his aura on Longao. As long as he did not hide in a special place, Evil Moon would be able to sense Longao's aura. What a sinister move. Fortunately, he had the chaotic Dantian and his primordial spirit had reached an extremely terrifying level. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died this time. Longao relied on the combined power of various deviant fires to quickly eliminate his own aura. He finally heaved a long sigh of relief. "Brother Long, Don't be reckless in the future. How could Longao not know about Qin Shuangshuang's worries? He smiled and said without a care, "Don't worry. As long as I am not enveloped by the Chenkuan space, I can leave at any time." Longao could only make sure that his primal chaos Dantian wouldn't be locked down or even broken by Evil Moon in the universe space. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Evil Moon could really lock and destroy his chaotic Dantian with the help of the universe space, there would be no chance for him to regret. "Brother Long, why don't we find a place to cultivate in seclusion? In the remaining 5,000 years, I don't believe that your cultivation can't return to the reincarnation chaotic realm." Qin Shuangshuang was really worried about Longao's safety. If it was just Mo Wutian and the others, with Brother Long's strength, he could still deal with them. Now that there was the powerful Evil Moon, how could she not be worried? Evil Moon was too powerful. Not to mention the current Brother Long, even if Brother Long had returned to his peak, it was still unknown whether he could contend against Evil Moon. In Qin Shuangshuang's opinion, with Brother Long's talent, it should be more than enough for him to break through to the chaotic reincarnation realm in 5,000 years. However, Longao wasn't completely confident. After all, he had spent 3,000 years and still hadn't successfully broken through to the chaotic reincarnation realm. It was impossible. Longao didn't express his helplessness. He said, "Shuangshuang, just cultivating in seclusion isn't the key. Although Evil Moon is powerful, I have the help of the chaotic palace. It won't be easy for Evil Moon to deal with me." Was that really the case? Qin Shuangshuang certainly wouldn't believe it completely. However, she knew Brother Long's character very well. It seemed that it was difficult to change Brother Long's mind, especially when facing a powerful enemy like Evil Moon. With Brother Long's competitive spirit, he would definitely deal with Evil Moon. Evil Moon, who was locking onto Longao's position, suddenly stopped. His face instantly turned gloomy and ugly. The aura disappeared. Evil Moon was very confident in the aura mark he had left behind. How could Longao discover such a hidden aura mark? He would never have thought that Longao had the chaotic Dantian and the help of the chaotic tree. If it was anyone else, they would definitely not be able to discover the aura mark. Evil Moon was very clear that once the aura mark he had left behind disappeared, it would be as difficult as ascending to the sky to continue to lock onto the other party's trace. Evil Moon himself was a legend in the chaotic realm. He had never encountered such a thing. If he hadn't experienced it personally, he wouldn't have believed it. He was very helpless, but more than that, he was angry. The matter of the Soulbreak Valley had not spread. Longao and Duan Hun definitely wouldn't know. As for Evil Moon, it was even more unlikely that Longao had escaped from under his nose. It was simply a great humiliation. If this matter were to spread, everyone knew what it meant. Inside the chaotic Dantian, because of the chaotic tree, Shenyuan Bubai's primordial spirit was preserved in the end. However, it was very weak. Not to mention facing a chaotic reincarnation realm warrior, even an ordinary warrior could easily devour his primordial spirit. In order to recover his primordial spirit as soon as possible, Shenyuan Bubai had been cultivating beside the chaos tree. Even so, the speed of his recovery was relatively slow. At this rate, he did not know how long it would take for him to recover to the primordial spirit realm, let alone to the primordial spirit realm. "Master, why are you looking for me?" Longao was very curious. He didn't know why his master suddenly looked for him. Under normal circumstances, with a treasure like the chaotic tree, his master should be trying his best to recover his primordial spirit. If there wasn't anything important, he believed that his master wouldn't look for him casually. What was the matter? You said before that you have been in seclusion for 3,000 years and haven't successfully broken through to the chaotic reincarnation realm. Is that right? Yes. Could it be that his master had a way to break through to the chaotic reincarnation realm? If that was the case, it would be an unexpected piece of good news for him. Shenyuan Bubai's face was very solemn. He said, "I have already observed your situation. According to my guess, if there are no accidents," at this point, Shenyuan Bubai didn't continue. Chapter 3274. Looking at his master who was hesitating to speak, Longao was even more curious. Could it be that things were troublesome? Longao had already decided that no matter what price he had to pay, as long as he could return to the chaotic reincarnation realm, he would do anything. Master, please speak your mind. Xuanwu Bushuan let out a deep sigh. Shenyuan Bubai said helplessly, I really did not expect that there would be someone who could cultivate chaotic sacred body in chaotic world. Unbelievable. What one feared would come true. All along. Longao had always thought that the reason why his cultivation could not break through the chaotic reincarnation realm was because of his chaotic sacred body. However, he later denied it. Hearing his master's words, Longao's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that his inability to return to the chaotic reincarnation realm had something to do with chaotic sacred body? If that was the case, things would be troublesome. Longao knew nothing about the chaotic sacred body that he had condensed. He didn't even know why he was able to condense it. His expression also changed slightly. I don't know much about the chaotic sacred body. I only heard that the chaotic sacred body is the number one sacred body in the chaotic realm. Once it is refined, it will be difficult to break through in the future. If you had not refined the chaotic sacred body, with your talent and potential, I believe that you would have recovered to the chaotic reincarnation realm 3,000 years ago. Longao nodded. How could he not know what his master meant? However, it was too late to say that now. God knew what was going on. Why would he cultivate the chaotic sacred body in this reincarnation? He was depressed. Since it had happened, he had to think about how to solve it. Master, what should I do? During this period of time, I have thought of countless ways. After thinking about it, there is only one way for your cultivation to return to the chaotic reincarnation realm. What is it? Hearing that his master had a way, Longao was elated and he could not wait to ask. As long as he could restore his cultivation base to the primal chaos reincarnation realm, he would not hesitate to pay any price. If you want to break through, you have to gather all 6 treasures. What treasure? In fact, there was no need to ask. Longao already knew. Since they could help him recover to the primal chaos reincarnation realm, it was obvious what these 6 items meant. He felt helpless. The first item, the chaos tree, you already have it. Chaos tree? Upon hearing that the first treasure was actually the chaos tree, Longao's face lit up again. He had already obtained the chaos tree, so there was no need to search for it. Looks like my luck is pretty good. If he hadn't encountered the chaos tree previously, he would know what it meant. No matter what. In any case, he had already obtained the chaos tree and was considered to have completed 1/6 of it. Longao also began to look forward to it. He did not know what the remaining 5 treasures were. It would be best if he had them himself. The second item is a Tao verification seed. My grass. Even though Longao had already guessed that the 6 treasures would be extraordinary, he had never expected that the second treasure would be the legendary Tao confirming seed. He knew better than anyone else what the Tao verification seed meant. The Tao verification seed was the seed left behind by the fallen Tao verification warrior. Once devoured, as long as it was suitable, one would be able to obtain the inheritance of the Tao verification warrior and become a new Tao verification warrior. From this, one could imagine what the Tao verification seed meant. Regardless of whether it was the chaos tree or the chaos seed, how could an ordinary person obtain it? If it wasn't for his good luck, he wouldn't have been able to obtain the chaos tree. However, Shenyuan Bubai laughed and said, I have already taken care of this matter for you, and I will not hide it from you. Previously, I was a Tao verification warrior, and I was ambushed and killed by a traitor. The reason why Gu Hao wants to find me, other than wanting to obtain the burning heart fire lotus, is more importantly because he wants to obtain my Tao verification seed. So that's how it is. Longao had already guessed that Gu Hao wanted to find his master's primordial spirit. Other than wanting to obtain the burning heart fire lotus, more importantly, he wanted to obtain his master's Tao verification seed. No matter what, as long as Gu Hao could devour the Tao verification seed left behind by his master, there was a 99% chance that he would succeed. Longao was very grateful in his heart. Of course, he knew that his master wanted him to devour his Tao verification seed. If that was the case, he would have already completed a third of it. Master, I believe you know better than me the importance of the Dao verification seed to you. If you give me the Dao verification seed, you will never be able to verify your Dao in the future. Being unable to verify one's Dao was too cruel. He couldn't let his master completely lose the chance to verify his Dao in order to help him. He really couldn't do it, and he wasn't willing to do it. Shenyuan Bubai smiled and said, the reason why my primordial spirit can be preserved is also because of the chaos tree. I am already very satisfied that it is not destroyed. Even if you don't devour my Dao verification seed, it will be very difficult for me to continue to verify my Dao in the future. Master. Waving his hand, before Longao could finish speaking, Shenyuan Bubai had already interrupted him and said, don't say any more. Master has already decided. You already have the second treasure, so you can be considered to have completed a third of it. Remember, the remaining 4 treasures are the truly difficult ones for you. Seeing that his master had already made up his mind, Longao didn't say anything more. However, the gratitude in his heart was self-evident as he quietly listened. He knew that his master must have purposely said that he had the first 2 treasures. It seemed that he didn't have the remaining 4 treasures. The remaining 4 treasures are the reincarnation fruit, the tricolor flower, the underworld water, and the beast core of a chaos reincarnation divine beast. Although he had already guessed that the remaining 4 treasures would be extraordinary, Longao was still startled when he heard that. However, compared to the first 2 treasures, the remaining 4 treasures were nothing. Reincarnation fruit, tricolor flower, netherworld water, and the beast core of a chaos reincarnation divine beast. Longao sighed. The other 3 treasures were really difficult to obtain. As for the last one, he could still do it. After all, with his current strength, Shuang, and the other 9 chaos divine beasts, it was not impossible to kill a chaos divine beast and wait for the other party's beast core. Whether you can return to the chaos reincarnation realm will depend on whether you can obtain the 4 treasures. No matter what, don't give up so easily. Chapter 3275. The 6 treasures that his master mentioned were the chaos seed, chaos tree, tricolor flower, reincarnation fruit, netherwater, and the beast core of the chaos reincarnation divine beast. He had already obtained the chaos seed and chaos tree, so there were only 4 treasures left. Longao told Qin Shuang and the rest, including Blackie and all the chaos divine beasts, what his master said. Boss, what do you want to do? What do you guys think? Brainstorming. Longao also wanted to hear everyone's opinions. After all, looking at the 4 treasures, any one of them was not easy to obtain. Qin Shuang's voice was extremely solemn as she said, Brother Long, I don't know about the other things, but I still know a little about this tricolor flower. Tell me about it. Longao never thought that Shuang would know about the tricolor flower. As long as she knew, it would be easy. Brother Long, according to the rumors, the tricolor flower is a treasure born from chaos. Although it's not as good as the chaos tree, it's not much different. Longao didn't say anything and just listened quietly. Longao had also heard of this rumor. The tricolor flower was known as the second divine item in the chaos realm and was only a hair's breadth away from the chaos tree. However, the tricolor flower was no different from the chaos tree. It was not easy to obtain. Back then, I was lucky enough to see the tricolor flower once. It was that time when countless people died. In order to obtain the tricolor flower, the entire chaos realm was moved. He nodded. Even now, Qin Shuang felt a lingering fear when she thought of this. That was because the battle back then was too tragic. Countless people died and it shocked the entire chaos realm. Brother Long, although countless people died in that battle, in the end, no one could take away the tricolor flower. It was also that time that the tricolor flower completely disappeared. They were in big trouble. Of course, Longao knew. Not to mention whether he could obtain the tricolor flower, whether he could lock onto the tricolor flower was unknown. If it wasn't for his good luck back then, he wouldn't have been able to obtain the chaos tree. Luck couldn't favor him every time. But I know where the tricolor flower is. Hearing that Shuang knew where the tricolor flower was, Longao was shocked. He immediately asked, where is it? Longao naturally knew what the tricolor flower meant to him. If he could collect all 6 treasures, he would be able to break through to the primal chaos reincarnation realm. In the end, he still had to deal with his chaotic sacred body. That was the key. If he could successfully obtain the tricolor flower, he would have completed half of the 6 treasures. How could he not be surprised? How could he not be excited? How could he not be impatient? What's more, Longao didn't hold back at all with Shuang. Brother Long, I'm not the only one who knows about the tricolor flower. Many people know about it, but no one dares to look for it. Do you know why? Those who went to look for him have all died. Yes. This was also what Qin Shuang felt the most helpless about. Of course, she hoped that Brother Long could successfully break through to the primal chaos reincarnation realm. However, she didn't want Brother Long to take the risk. She was very conflicted. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. Should she tell Brother Long where the tricolor flower was? As if he could guess Shuang's thoughts, Longao smiled and said, Shuang, if my cultivation can't recover to the primal chaos reincarnation realm, once I encounter Evil Moon and the others, my final outcome will be. At this point, Longao didn't continue. However, the meaning in his words was very clear. As long as Qin Shuang wasn't a fool, she could understand the meaning in Longao's words. She was very helpless. Of course, Qin Shuang hoped that Brother Long's cultivation could recover to the primal chaos reincarnation realm as soon as possible. In this way, even if he couldn't defeat Evil Moon, he could only fight back. With a deep sigh, Qin Shuang said worriedly, Brother Long, I don't know if you've heard of Cloud Valley. Cloud Valley? Could the tricolor flower be in Cloud Valley? Nodding, Longao said, Of course I've heard of Cloud Valley. According to legend, Cloud Valley is one of the forbidden places in the Chaos world. Ordinary people don't dare to casually step into it. However, anyone who steps in, even if they are primal Chaos reincarnation realm warriors, will not leave alive. Could the tricolor flower be in Cloud Valley? Yes, the tricolor flower is in Cloud Valley. For countless years, many primal Chaos realm warriors have continuously stepped into Cloud Valley. However, no one has been able to leave alive. I see. However, after thinking about it, it made sense. After all, Cloud Valley was a forbidden place in the Chaos world. Moreover, among all the forbidden places, it could definitely be ranked in the top 3. Such a dangerous place, unless there was water in one's brain, no one would step into it. Although the tricolor flower was a peerless treasure, it was nothing compared to one's life. After a short rest, we will leave for Cloud Valley. Without even thinking, Longao had already decided to go to Cloud Valley. No matter what price he had to find the remaining 4 treasures. Now that he knew the whereabouts of the tricolor flower, if he did not go to Cloud Valley, he would not even have the chance to regret it. Longao had never thought that he would obtain the specific location of the tricolor flower. This time, he had to thank Shuang. Otherwise, it would not be an easy task to find the tricolor flower. Qin Shuang's face was filled with worry as she said, Brother Long, you should know what Cloud Valley represents. Once you step into Cloud Valley, the slightest bit of carelessness will cause you to be consigned to eternal damnation. Why don't we think of other ways and see? Longao waved his hand. How could he not know what Qin Shuang meant? However, he was determined to get the tricolor flower. How could he choose to give up so easily? His master had already said that the chaotic sacred body that he had condensed was very troublesome. It was almost impossible to break through the bottleneck and break through the chaotic reincarnation realm by relying on his own cultivation. Unless he could gather the 6 treasures and merge them with the chaotic sacred body, then he could smoothly break through from the chaotic life and death realm to the chaotic reincarnation realm. Because of this, Longao would definitely not choose to give up. This time, he was determined to go to Cloud Valley. Thinking of this, Longao said with a smile, Shuang, don't worry. I will be fine. You should know what my chaotic dantian means. Once I encounter danger, I will definitely enter my chaotic dantian. Longao was very confident in his chaotic dantian. However, it was not omnipotent. As for whether he could come out alive after entering Cloud Valley, it was still unknown. However, no matter what, he was determined to get Cloud Valley and the tricolor flower. Chapter 3276. Cloud Valley, one of the forbidden grounds of the Chaos world. Many people knew that the legendary tricolor flower was in Cloud Valley. Knowing it was one thing, but whether or not he could obtain it was another. Countless Chaos martial artists stepped into Cloud Valley, but no one was able to successfully obtain the tricolor flower from Cloud Valley. Not only that. However, no one who entered Cloud Valley came out alive. As time slowly passed, no one dared to casually step into Cloud Valley anymore. Longao looked at the huge valley in front of him in shock. Because Cloud Valley was located in the void of the 9 heavens, at the peak of the clouds. It was illusory and beautiful. Brother Long, have you really thought it through? Qin Shuangshuang did not care about the beautiful scenery around Cloud Valley. Her face was filled with worry. Once Brother Long stepped into Cloud Valley, his life and death would be unpredictable. How could she not worry? How could Longao not know about Shuangshuang's worry? He smiled. Longao said confidently, Shuangshuang, you have to believe in your husband. I will definitely obtain the tricolor flower. Since things were already like this, there was no need to give up. According to his master, if he wanted to break through the Chaos reincarnation realm, he had to gather 6 treasures. How could he give up on the tricolor flower? It was impossible. Qin Shuangshuang sighed in her heart. How could she not know Brother Long's character? She was helpless, but she had already thought it through. If anything happened to Brother Long, she would definitely not live alone. She took a deep breath. Placing both hands into his Chaos Dantian, Longao did not continue to hesitate. With a stride, he disappeared from the peak of Cloud Valley. The entire Cloud Valley was filled with white fog, and one could not see the end of it. He did not dare to be careless. No matter what, there were rumors that everyone who entered Cloud Valley had died, including Chaos reincarnation martial artists. In such a situation, it would be a lie to say that he was not worried. Step by step, he was on full alert. Longao carefully moved forward, but the white fog seemed to be endless. No matter how long he walked, he could not reach the end. Could it be a maze formation? It was impossible. Longao himself was also an array master, and he had already reached a very high level of attainment in array formations. As long as he probed a little, he already knew that the white fog lingering in the depths of his body was not the so-called maze at all. In that case, why couldn't he walk out of the white fog? He was very curious and did not know what was going on. Longao did not continue forward. He stopped and calmed down. He began to use his Yuan spirit to cover the surrounding space. Let's see what's going on. The more he sensed, the more curious he became. He didn't know why the Cloud Valley he had entered could become one of the forbidden grounds of the primal chaos world. However, Longao wasn't a fool. Since Cloud Valley could become one of the forbidden zones in the primal chaos realm and be ranked in the top 5 or even top 3, there must be a reason for it. The more it was like this, the more afraid Longao was. Before the storm, it was always calm and peaceful. Ao, come in first. Hearing his master's summon, Longao's figure instantly entered his primal chaos Dantian. He was very curious and did not know why his master had summoned him. Master, you're looking for me? Ao, do you already know the exact location of the tricolor flower? Nodding his head, Longao did not hide anything from his master and roughly told him about Cloud Valley. It was still the same sentence, the tricolor flower must be obtained. Hearing the 3 words Cloud Valley, Shenyuan Bubai's face instantly turned solemn. Seeing this situation, Longao's heart moved. It seemed that not only did his master know about Cloud Valley, but he also had a deep understanding of it. If that was the case, then things would be much easier. Master, is Cloud Valley? Waving his hand, before Longao could finish his words, Shenyuan Bubai had already interrupted him. Although the tricolor flower is very useful to you and is also the key to breaking through the primal chaos realm, Ao, I must remind you that at this time, you must choose to give up. Give up the tricolor flower and immediately leave Cloud Valley. Ah! Hearing his master's words, Longao's face instantly changed. He had never imagined that his master would say this to him at this time. It was simply impossible for him to give up the tricolor flower and leave Cloud Valley. The situation was very clear. If he could not obtain the tricolor flower, he would not be able to break through the primal chaos reincarnation realm. If his cultivation could not break through the primal chaos reincarnation realm, he knew what it meant. Not to mention others, just facing Xie Yu alone, he would not be able to contend against him. Master, you already know my situation. No matter what, I will not choose to give up. Please forgive me. Longao naturally knew that his master said this for his own good. However, the situation was a little different. He had to obtain the tricolor flower and break through the primal chaos reincarnation realm. As if he had already guessed that his disciple would make such a choice, Shenyuan Bubai sighed deeply and said helplessly, "Ao, do you know why Cloud Valley is listed as one of the forbidden areas in the primal chaos realm? Why, no matter who it is, even if it is a primal chaos reincarnation realm cultivator, once they step into Cloud Valley, they will die without a doubt. Master, please tell me." Longao had already guessed that the things he did not know, his master definitely knew. Even his master was so afraid. Thinking about it, he knew what Cloud Valley meant. It seemed that it would not be easy for him to find the tricolor flower in Cloud Valley. Ao, I believe you also know that in the primal chaos realm, there are actually people who have attained Dao before. It's not just me. Longao nodded. How could he not know what his master said? In the countless years of the primal chaos realm, how could his master be the only one who had attained Dao? When he was roaming the primal chaos realm, he had already heard that there were people who had succeeded in attaining Dao. He knew that Dao-proving cultivators generally did not appear. It was precisely because of this that Longao had never seen any other Dao-proving cultivators other than his master. However, after his master's confirmation, he had already guessed that Cloud Valley was very likely related to Dao-proving cultivators. If that was the case, then the matter would be very troublesome. Ao, I believe you have already guessed it. That's right. Just as you have guessed, Cloud Valley is the place of seclusion of a Dao-proving cultivator. And this Dao-proving cultivator is called Cloud Ancestor by the primal chaos realm. Dao-proving cultivator, Cloud Ancestor. Longao naturally had not heard of Cloud Ancestor. However, how could a person who had successfully attained Dao be an ordinary person? Chapter 3277. He was shocked. Longao also never thought that inside Cloud Valley, there would actually be a Dao validation martial artist existing. No wonder even a Chaos Reincarnation Realm warrior would not be able to leave Cloud Valley alive. Think about it. Who could leave alive when facing a Dao Vindication warrior? At this moment, Longao finally knew why his master wanted to stop him. Was he going to give up just like that? Longao knew that if he chose to give up now, it would be impossible for him to break through the Chaos Reincarnation Realm with the Chaos Sacred Body. For a moment, Longao also did not know how to choose. If it was any other danger, it would not be able to stop him. Only the Dao Vindication warrior in front of him. Even if he was at his peak, he would not be able to fight against a Dao Vindication warrior. There was no doubt about it. Ao. Shenyuan Bubai did not know what to say. He could not continue to let his disciple choose to give up. Shenyuan Bubai knew very well what it meant if his disciple chose to give up. He was helpless. Master, is there a chance? Yes. Longao was overjoyed when he heard his master say there was a way. He immediately asked, Master, what is it? If he could get the tricolor flower, he would not hesitate to face danger. Only Longao. If it were anyone else who knew that there was a Dao Vindication warrior in Cloud Valley, they would not dare to step into Cloud Valley even if they were beaten to death. After all, a Dao Vindication warrior was the most powerful existence in the Chaos Realm. Even a Chaos Reincarnation Realm warrior, such as Evil Moon, was like an ant in front of a Dao Vindication warrior. Ao, it depends on your luck. Luck. Longao did not know what his master meant. What did getting the tricolor flower have to do with luck? According to my guess, if there are no accidents, Cloud Ancestor has not come out of seclusion since he went into seclusion. Therefore, if you enter Cloud Valley, as long as Cloud Ancestor does not come out, you will succeed. I see. Longao roughly knew what his master meant. It was one thing to know, but it was another to actually do it. After all, according to the rumors, countless chaotic martial artists had stepped into Cloud Valley, but none of them had been able to leave alive. What did this mean? Even if the Cloud Ancestor was in seclusion, it would not be easy to obtain the tricolor flower in Cloud Valley. He didn't continue to dwell on it. Since he was already here, he would be unwilling to give up now. Looking at the surrounding white fog, Longao's expression became more and more serious. According to his master, he had not entered the real Cloud Valley. In other words, he was still at the entrance. He felt helpless. If it wasn't for his master's reminder, he wouldn't have known that there was a Dao validation cultivator in Cloud Valley. He wouldn't have even entered Cloud Valley. After calming himself down, Longao once again released his aura, which slowly enveloped his surroundings. Following his own aura, Longao unknowingly walked for about 10 minutes before he entered a huge valley. This was the real Cloud Valley. It was boundless. Longao was very clear that many chaotic martial artists who entered Cloud Valley could not even step into the real Cloud Valley. However, since he had already entered, he would not be reconciled if he chose to leave without obtaining the tricolor flower. The Cloud Ancestor. Longao was very wary of the Dao validation cultivator that his master had mentioned. He began to search for the tricolor flower with all his might. Longao knew that even if he had entered Cloud Valley, it was still unknown whether he could obtain the tricolor flower. In the end, it still depended on luck. If he was unlucky, he would not have obtained the Chaos Tree. This time, it was the same for searching for the tricolor flower. If he was lucky, he would definitely find it. If he was unlucky, even if the tricolor flower was right in front of him, he might not be able to obtain it. Very helpless. Longao of course knew that to find the tricolor flower, he still had to rely on luck. However, Cloud Valley was boundless. On one hand, he was wary of the Cloud Ancestor coming out to deal with him. On the other hand, he had to search for a treasure in such a huge space. It was really difficult. What should he do? Just at this moment, the entire Cloud Valley was suddenly filled with dark clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder boomed. In just a few short seconds, the surrounding space was filled with dense lightning strikes. One after another, terrifying lightning strikes descended. Longao naturally knew that if a chaos martial artist were to step into Cloud Valley, there was 100% chance that he would fall. However, thinking about it was one thing. Longao could clearly sense that the entire world was filled with endless lightning strikes. Not to mention himself, even a chaos reincarnation martial artist would find it hard to defend against these terrifying lightning strikes. Boom, 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 boom. The entire world was filled with the sounds of thunder. Longao did not dare to be careless. Ever since he had entered Cloud Valley, he had already decided that whether he could do it or not, he would not step into the Chaos Dantian. Who knew if he had already been targeted by the Cloud Ancestor? He knew nothing about the powers and mystic skills of a Dao validation cultivator. The peak of the fourth mystic skill, Reincarnation Transcendence, covered his entire body with a terrifying aura. Countless lightning bolts struck down continuously. Even though Longao was confident in his mystic skills, he still felt a lingering fear in the face of such terrifying lightning bolts. Under the continuous attacks, Longao was starting to find it hard to defend against. Indeed, this was a holy ground for Dao validation cultivators. Just by stepping in, he was already having a hard time moving forward. At this point, not to mention getting the tricolor flower, he did not even know if he could make it out of Cloud Valley alive. This was not the way to go on. The lightning strikes were way too dense. Even if he were to force his way forward, he would not be able to hold on for too long. As such, Longao's face was getting more and more serious. The Chaos Axe appeared in his right hand. Chopping out continuously, the Chaos 9 axes changed continuously. A series of axe shadows formed an aura shield. With this, Longao felt much more relaxed. He heaved a sigh of relief. Under such circumstances, he did not dare to be careless. Immediately, he headed towards the clear skies not far away. Longao's speed was very fast. In just a few minutes, he had already left the lightning attack area. However, before Longao could react, he heard continuous roars. His entire face instantly changed, because countless strange spirit beasts had already appeared around him. Each of the spirit beasts was incomparably powerful, and they began to attack crazily. F***CK. Looking at the countless spirit beasts that had appeared all around him, Longao was completely dumbfounded. He was no stranger to these spirit beasts. These spirit beasts were from the Chilean race. Chapter 3278. The Kirin clan was one of the stronger clans among the spiritual beasts. However, the Kirin clan was similar to the Dragon clan. Although they were strong, there were very few of them. Countless Kirins swarmed over. Among them, water Kirins, fire Kirins, earth Kirins, lightning Kirins, and so on. As far as the eye could see, it was densely packed. Even Longao was solemn when facing such a huge Kirin clan at the same time. Longao was extremely solemn. He did not dare to hesitate at all. The chaos axe in his hand was thrown out quickly. One after another, it was as if he could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. Instead of being passive, he might as well take the initiative to attack. Fortunately, there were no chaos divine beasts among the Kirin clan. In that case, Longao could still deal with them. But the result? There were roars. When Longao heard the roar, his expression instantly changed. This was because he could clearly feel that several primal chaos divine beasts had appeared around him. With his current strength, if he were to launch such a powerful attack at the same time, he would know what it meant. The Kirins fell around him and turned into corpses. This could not go on. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A total of 5 chaos reincarnation Kirins came out in a frenzy. Each of them was filled with endless anger and they began to attack Longao. How could the 5 chaos reincarnation Kirins not be angry when they saw so many of their clansmen die? For countless years, there were many chaotic martial artists who stepped into Cloud Valley every day. However, there had never been such a loss of clansmen. 1 against 5, even if Longao kept using reincarnation transcendence, it was still very difficult for him to deal with them. He began to retreat. As the battle continued to escalate, Longao knew very well that he could not fight against the entire Kirin clan with his own strength. At this moment, Longao immediately summoned the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts from his Chaos Dantian. Although the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts had not recovered to the Chaos Reincarnation realm, they were still intimidating. Long howls reverberated throughout the entire world. The Kirins who were attacking crazily all stopped, including the 5 Kirin sovereigns. They all looked at the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts in front of them in a daze. In the world of spiritual beasts, the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts were the most powerful beings. It was precisely because of this. All the Kirins in the Chilean clan could not figure out why 9 divine beasts of chaos would suddenly appear beside this man. Chilean clan, quickly retreat. Who dares to harm my boss? Die. The 5 Kylan emperors stared at the 9 divine beasts of chaos. One of them said coldly, "He killed so many of our people. Are we just going to let him go?" Blackie sneered and said coldly, "If you didn't attack my boss wouldn't have done anything." That being said, looking at the countless Chilean corpses around them, how could the 5 Chilean sovereigns accept this? The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. If it was just one person, the 5 of them would definitely not waste their breath. But now, the situation was completely different. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. The 5 Kylan emperors could sense that the 9 chaotic divine beasts weren't chaotic reincarnation. If that was the case, they might have a chance to kill him if they attacked by force. But due to the deterrence of the 9 chaotic divine beasts, the 5 Kylan emperors didn't act rashly. "I'll give you face. As long as this man leaves an arm or a leg behind, he can leave." Longao sneered in his heart. Of course, he knew why the 5 Kylan emperors did this. In the end, it was because the 5 Kylan emperors were instinctively afraid of the 9 chaotic divine beasts. What did that mean? No matter what, the 9 chaotic divine beasts had a high status in the world of spiritual beasts. Dao Tai sneered and said mockingly, "The Chilean clan suddenly disappeared from the primal chaos realm. So it turns out that they were sealed in Cloud Valley. Although the Chilean clan wasn't the most powerful existence, It wasn't something that ordinary spiritual beasts could compare to. However, many years ago, most of the Chilean clan had disappeared, causing the entire chaotic realm to be curious as to what had happened to the Chilean clan. Now that they saw the entire Chilean clan in Cloud Valley, Longao and the others knew without asking that the disappearance of the Chilean clan was caused by the Cloud Ancestor. The entire Chilean clan didn't have any power to fight back against a Dao validation warrior. Humph. We are willing to stay here. Although you are the top existence in the world of spiritual beasts, I can tell you clearly that our master is a great Dao validation warrior. Since you dare to barge into Cloud Valley, don't think of leaving alive. If it had been anyone else, they would have been scared out of their wits when they heard the words Dao validation warrior. After all the experts in the chaotic realm knew what a Dao validation warrior meant. A Dao validation warrior wouldn't appear casually and very few people had seen one. However, Longao and the others already knew that Cloud Valley was the cultivation place of the Cloud Ancestor and that the Cloud Ancestor was a Dao validation warrior. Seeing that the other party wasn't surprised at all, the 5 Chilean sovereigns were shocked. They didn't expect the other party to be so expressionless. The 5 of you, listen up. I'm giving you one last chance. Leave now. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. If they were outside Cloud Valley, the 5 Chilean sovereigns would be fearful even if the 9 divine beasts of chaos hadn't recovered to the primal chaos reincarnation realm. After all, the 9 divine beasts of chaos were the most powerful existences in the world of spiritual beasts. However, the situation was different now. Not only were they in Cloud Valley, but they also had the support of the Cloud Ancestor. There was no need for them to be afraid of the 9 divine beasts of chaos. Thinking of this, the 5 Chilean sovereigns laughed maniacally and sneered. What divine beasts of chaos? I'd like to see how you can leave Cloud Valley alive today. As soon as they finished speaking, the Chilean army around them began to attack frantically again. Each of them was like a madman, like moths flying into a flame. You guys retreat first. Boss, if you want to leave, we'll leave together. If you want to stay, we'll stay together. The 9 divine beasts of chaos naturally knew what it meant to leave their boss alone. As the saying went, 2 fists couldn't fight against 4 hands. Moreover, there were 5 Chilean sovereigns in the Chilean clan. It was obvious that their boss wouldn't be a match for the Chilean clan. As long as the 9 divine beasts of chaos weren't willing to enter the primal chaos Dantian, even Longao wouldn't be able to force them. After all, Longao was only in the primal chaos life and death realm and hadn't recovered to the primal chaos reincarnation realm. Chapter 3279. Longao was very grateful. He knew very well that the 9 chaos divine beasts had acknowledged him from the bottom of their hearts. This was a good thing. Longao joined forces with the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts and with the help of the Chaos Divine Beast diagram, they began to fight back. It had to be said. The Chaos Divine Beast diagram combined with the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts' power was not to be underestimated. Even the 5 Chilean sovereigns would find it difficult to advance further. Thus, both sides were in a stalemate. Chilean clan, retreat. At this moment, an ethereal voice suddenly rang out. The voice was filled with boundless majesty. Hearing the voice, all the Chilean army stopped, including the 5 Chilean sovereigns. All of their faces were filled with respect. In a short while, all the Chilean army retreated and disappeared without a trace. Subsequently, the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts all disappeared from the spot and returned to the chaotic Dantian. To be able to gather the 9 Chaos Divine Beasts, it seems like you're Longao who dominated the Chaos Realm back then. Looking at the elder who suddenly appeared in front of him, Longao of course knew who the other party was. Bowing respectfully, Longao said, "Yes, Longao pays his respects to Cloud Ancestor." Cloud Ancestor. Longao's guess was right. The elder who had just descended was none other than the owner of Cloud Valley, Cloud Ancestor. He was also a Dao-proving warrior, the strongest existence in the entire Chaos Realm. Follow me. In fact, when Longao first stepped into Cloud Valley, Cloud Ancestor already knew. However, for so many years, countless Chaos warriors had entered but he had never appeared once. However, this time was an exception. He found that this person was very different as he could gather the 9 chaos divine beasts. Looking at the entire chaos realm, it was not easy for even a Tao-proving warrior to gather the 9 chaos divine beasts. It was because of this that Cloud Ancestor appeared. In front of a lake. The two sat on the ground. Longao found that Cloud Ancestor gave him a very calm feeling, just like an ordinary person. Longao, I wonder why you came to my Cloud Valley this time? Cloud Ancestor didn't ask, because he already knew that the other party wasn't surprised to see him, which meant that the other party had already guessed his identity. If it were anyone else, how could they be so calm in the face of a Tao-confirming martial artist like him? Senior Cloud Ancestor, to tell you the truth. Longao didn't hide anything, and told him about his desire to obtain the tricolor flower. The tricolor flower was a very important item even for Tao validation martial artists. On the other hand, the Cloud Ancestor was not surprised at all. Longao, you should know what the tricolor flower is. It took me a lot of effort to get it. Longao didn't say anything. In this situation, it was not possible to obtain the tricolor flower just by being lucky. It was impossible to snatch the tricolor flower from the hands of a Tao validation martial artist unless one was out of their mind. Whether you break through or not has nothing to do with me. What he was afraid of really came true. As long as the other party put forward a condition, there would be hope to obtain the tricolor flower. However, he was facing a Tao-confirming martial artist now. How could a Tao-confirming martial artist want to make a condition with him? It was completely nonsense. He felt very helpless in his heart. It seemed that he might not be able to obtain the tricolor flower even if he entered the Cloud Valley. He was very unwilling in his heart. However, in this situation, what could he do even if he was unwilling? He was powerless in the face of a Tao affirmation cultivator. Seeing the other party not speaking, Cloud Ancestor suddenly smiled and said, Longao, I really admire you. I have heard all the legends about you. You are really good. Longao shrugged helplessly and said, Senior Cloud Ancestor, I came here mainly for the tricolor flower. It is very important to me. If Senior Cloud Ancestor agrees, then I, Longao, will owe you a favor. This time. Cloud Ancestor did not directly refuse, but said with a smile, Longao, the tricolor flower is useless to me. There is no harm in giving it to you, but... Speaking of this, Cloud Ancestor did not continue. He just quietly looked at the lake in front of him. No one knew what he was thinking. Hearing Cloud Ancestor's words, Longao was overjoyed and immediately asked, Senior Cloud Ancestor, how can you give the tricolor flower to me? Longao had already thought about it. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to find a way to obtain the tricolor flower. After all, the tricolor flower was too important to him. If he could not obtain the tricolor flower, his cultivation would not be able to smoothly break through the chaotic reincarnation realm. He knew the consequences better than anyone else. Obtaining the tricolor flower was a must. Breaking through the chaotic reincarnation realm was a must. Cloud Ancestor smiled and said, Longao, I don't need to say more. You should know the importance of the tricolor flower. It is not impossible to give it to you, but you have to promise me 2 conditions. How about that? Senior, please speak. Longao was more or less relieved when he heard that Cloud Ancestor finally relented. He was afraid that Cloud Ancestor would not be able to negotiate. If that was the case, his side would really be in trouble. As long as Cloud Ancestor stated the conditions, he would definitely consider it as long as he could do it. Suppressing the surprise in his heart, Longao still did not know what conditions Cloud Ancestor would put forward. As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, Cloud Ancestor smiled and said, Don't worry, the 2 conditions I mentioned are nothing to you. Longao did not take it seriously. After all, the gap between their realms was too big. It might not be a problem for a Tao validation warrior, but who knew if it would be difficult for him? Before Cloud Ancestor mentioned it, Longao could only wait. The first condition is that I want all the cultivation methods of the 9 revolution chaos technique that you practice. Although you only broke through the peak of the 7th revolution, according to my guess, you should have perfected the 8th and 9th revolution cultivation methods. Therefore, I need the 8th and 9th revolution cultivation methods. I believe you will not refuse. It turned out that Cloud Ancestor wanted to ask for the 9 revolution chaos technique from him. Hearing Cloud Ancestor's first condition, Longao finally knew why Cloud Ancestor said that this condition was very simple for him. It was indeed very simple. In the entire Chaos realm, except for him, no one else could agree to Cloud Ancestor's request. As for why Cloud Ancestor wanted the 9 revolution chaos technique, Longao could completely imagine that Cloud Ancestor wanted the 9 revolution chaos technique because he valued the last revolution of the 9 revolution chaos technique, which was the so-called 9th revolution. As for the 8th revolution, it was actually useless to Cloud Ancestor. After all, as long as he broke through the 8th revolution, he was on the right path. The key was the so-called 9th revolution. Chapter 3280. Longao didn't care about his own 9 revolution chaos mantra. The reason was simple. Throughout the entire Chaos realm, except for himself, there was no one who could cultivate the 9 revolution chaos mantra. In other words, even if he imparted the 9 revolution chaos mantra to Cloud Ancestor couldn't cultivate it. Longao was still very confident about this. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately imparted the 9 revolution chaos mantra that he cultivated to Cloud Ancestor. Feeling the cultivation method that appeared in his mind, Cloud Ancestor certainly knew that this cultivation method was real and seemed to be very satisfied. But thinking about it, he was relieved. With his identity, no matter who it was, he would hand over what he wanted. Even without the restraint of the tricolor flower. Dao validation martial artists were the peak existence of martial arts. Not to mention the current Longao, even at his peak, Longao was an ant-like existence in front of a Dao validation martial artist. However, in front of a Dao validation martial artist, a Chaos reincarnation martial artist was just a relatively powerful ant. This was the strength of a Dao validation martial artist. Cloud Ancestor smiled and said, "You are very good. The second condition is very simple. You just need to cultivate the 9 revolution chaos mantra and give me everything you have comprehended." Longao already understood what Cloud Ancestor meant. In any case, the 9 revolution chaos mantra was created by himself. Even if the other party was a Dao validation martial artist, he may not be able to cultivate it successfully. But when it comes to his own cultivation comprehension, then it's another matter. If it were other cultivation methods, with Cloud Ancestor's cultivation comprehension and his own talent, he believed that there would be no problem in cultivating it. Only the 9 revolution chaos mantra created by himself. Longao was very confident in his own cultivation method. Even a Dao validation martial artist was no exception. Even the 9 revolution chaos mantra cultivation method was given. Longao of course would not hold back in the slightest about cultivation comprehension. All of it was imparted. Good, good, good. He said 3 good words in a row. Cloud Ancestor was pleasantly surprised. Of course, he could feel that this 9 revolution chaos formula was very unusual. As a Dao validation warrior, Cloud Ancestor was not a person who would go back on his word. He directly gave the tricolor flower to the other party. Looking at the tricolor flower in his hand, Longao suppressed the joy in his heart. He first sent the tricolor flower into his chaotic dantian. Longao stood up and bowed, "Thank you, Senior Cloud Ancestor." Longao was truly grateful. After all, he knew very well what it meant to be a Dao-confirming martial artist. Even if Cloud Ancestor forced him to hand over the 9 revolution chaos mantra, there was no problem at all. The Cloud Ancestor was not a bad person. "We're just taking what we need. You can leave now." He nodded. After successfully obtaining the tricolor flower, Longao naturally would not continue to stay here. After all, there were still 3 treasures that he had yet to obtain. He had to obtain the other 3 treasures as soon as possible. Longao did not even want to continue to wait for a second. After all, the deterrence of Evil Moon and the others was right there. 9 revolution chaos formula. It's really hard to imagine that a little chaotic reincarnation realm warrior could actually create such a heaven-defying cultivation method. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Cloud Ancestor's laughter spread throughout the entire Cloud Valley. After leaving Cloud Valley, Longao let out a long sigh of relief. Because he was very clear that it still depended on luck to obtain the tricolor flower. Otherwise, not to mention obtaining the tricolor flower, it was really unknown whether he could leave alive. However, Longao was also very depressed. It seemed that the 9-revolution chaos formula that he created was very popular, even among Dao validation warriors. What kind of concept was this? Cloud Ancestor wanted to obtain the 9-revolution chaos formula. There was no doubt that if other Dao validation warriors knew about this, they would definitely ask him for it. It was really troublesome. But no matter what, he had already obtained the tricolor flower successfully. It could be said that he had completed half of his mission. The next thing to do was to get the other 3 items as soon as possible. That way, he would be able to break through to the chaotic reincarnation state smoothly. As for the remaining 3 treasures, the nether water, reincarnation fruit, and the beast pill of the chaotic reincarnation mythical beast. Other than the 3rd beast pill, there were no clues about the other 2. As for the beast pill of the chaotic reincarnation mythical beast, it should not be too difficult for Longao. After all, with his current strength and the help of Shuang and the others, it should not be too difficult for him to kill a chaotic reincarnation mythical beast. Therefore, the key was still the nether water and reincarnation fruit. But while searching for the other 3 treasures, Longao was very worried about the safety of Kang Lin and Han Yin. Especially Kang Lin. Sister Lin's body contained a chaos seed. Even though he did not know why the chaos seed had chosen Kang Lin, he was still a little worried. Obtaining the chaos seed did not guarantee success in validating one's Dao. If one were to be devoured by the chaos seed, the consequences would be dire. Even one's essence spirit might be devoured. The Domain Lords Alliance. Looking at Longao in front of them, whether it was Kang Hao, Kang Han, or Great Elder Shasai, they all sighed. Thousands of years ago, Longao was just an ant in their eyes. But now, they had to look up to Longao. They were not even qualified to entertain him. The old ancestor had to come out personally. Longao, it's good to see you. Kang Ya was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Being able to leave safely under Evil Moon's nose twice already explained everything. Kang Ya knew very well what kind of existence Evil Moon was. Evil Moon was an invincible existence among the chaotic reincarnation warriors. Especially now that Longao was only a chaotic life and death, not a chaotic reincarnation. How could Longao not know what Kang Ya meant? Even though there were no eternal enemies or eternal friends in the world, Longao still regarded Kang Ya as a true friend at this time. I want to see Sister Lin. Kang Ya and the others naturally knew who the Sister Lin that Longao was talking about was. They also knew the relationship between the two. Kang Ya nodded and told Longao Kang Lin's location. It seemed that he was not willing to wait for even a second. After all, time was everything to Longao. This time, he was very worried about Sister Lin's safety. Otherwise, he would not have rushed over in such a hurry. In an extremely secluded but elegant mountain peak, Kang Lin sat quietly in a simple thatched cottage, cultivating. Ever since the chaos seed began to exert its power, Kang Lin's cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. In just over 3,000 years, her cultivation had successfully broken through the chaotic life and death realm. She was only one step away from the legendary chaotic reincarnation realm. Chapter 3281. Kang Lin who was cultivating. She suddenly opened her eyes and looked at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of her. Instantly, she was excited. Brother Long, is that you? Longao was pleasantly surprised to see Sister Lin again. Kang Lin hugged Longao tightly. Both of them didn't say anything. They just hugged each other quietly. After some time, Brother Long, are you looking for me for something? He nodded. Sister Lin, given your cultivation speed, it seems like you have already integrated with the chaos seed. Kang Lin, of course, did not hide anything from Longao. She told him everything that had happened in detail, especially about the primal chaos seed. Kang Lin naturally knew what her brother meant. Whether the chaos seed was a blessing or a curse was still unknown. She sighed deeply in her heart. This was big trouble. Longao knew very well that if the chaos seed was really harmful to Sister Lin, she would be in endless trouble in the future. However, if the Chaos Seed was only beneficial to Sister Lin, it would be a different story. Sister Lin, let me check for you. If he was alone, he definitely wouldn't be able to do anything. However, the situation was different now. His master was in the chaotic Dantian and he had already communicated with his master. Therefore, after Sister Lin agreed, Longao started checking without hesitation. Master, how is it? Longao was equally nervous. No matter what, he definitely hoped that the Chaos Seed that Sister Lin had integrated with wouldn't cause her any harm. Shenyuan Bubai's face was getting more and more serious. He said, let's go. Within the chaotic Dantian. Master, what's going on? Looking at the expression on his master's face, Longao already knew that things weren't as good as he had imagined. Indeed, whatever he was afraid of, would happen. He was worried that Sister Lin would be in trouble after integrating with the Chaos Seed. Indeed, it was just that he did not know how much harm the Chaos Seed would cause to Sister Lin. He regretted it. If he had known, he would have stopped Sister Lin from integrating with the Chaos Seed. Longao was confident in Sister Lin. As long as he asked, he believed that Sister Lin would definitely give up on integrating with the Chaos Seed. However, it was too late now. It was too late for regrets. Shenyuan Bubai naturally knew about the relationship between the young lady and Longao. He sighed deeply. Ao, this little girl of yours is very unlucky. If it were any other Chaos Seed, the chances of her being able to fuse with it and break through to the Dao validation realm would be very high. At this point, Shenyuan Bubai did not continue. The more it was like this, the more scared Longao was. What if something really happened to Sister Lin? Master, what's going on? He could not wait to find out what was going on. If he could stop it in time, there might be a chance to turn things around. The little girl's primal Chaos Seed. According to my senses, if I'm not mistaken, it should be the evil ancestor's primal Chaos Seed. I really didn't expect that the evil ancestor who died back then didn't truly die. Instead, before Shenyuan Bubai could forgive me, Longao impatiently asked, Master, who is the evil ancestor? The evil ancestor is an existence on the same level as the cloud ancestor. However, the evil ancestor was too evil and killed too many people, so it provoked the dissatisfaction of other Dao validation martial artists. Many Dao validation martial artists joined forces to kill it. I see. Longao was extremely worried. He already understood what his master meant. The evil ancestor was an extremely evil person. The primal Chaos Seed he turned into would definitely devour Sister Lin in the future. There was no doubt about that. What should I do? As if he could guess what his disciple was thinking, before Longao could finish speaking, Shenyuan Bubai had already said, if the little girl had not merged with the primal Chaos Seed, everything would be fine. But now, although Shenyuan Bubai did not finish his sentence, the meaning of his words was very clear. Longao was not a fool. How could he not understand? Master, please. Nothing must happen to Sister Lin. Absolutely nothing must happen to her. The more he thought about it, the more afraid and worried he became. Longao even hoped that something would happen to him instead of Sister Lin. If it were any other matter, he might have a solution. However, when it came to the primal Chaos Seed left behind by the evil ancestor, Longao had no solution at all. This was because he knew nothing about Dao validation martial artists. Give me some time. Let me think about it. Longao, of course, knew that this matter was troublesome. He did not continue asking and slowly left. Outside the primal Chaos Dantian. Looking at Sister Lin in front of him, Longao originally wanted to hide it. However, since things had already come to this, how could he continue hiding it? With that thought in mind, he said, Sister Lin, things are getting troublesome. What's wrong? Kang Lin's heart skipped a beat. Of course, she knew what Longao meant. Could it be that the primal Chaos Seed she had merged with was really troublesome? If that was the case, wouldn't she be in trouble? Without hiding anything, Longao recounted everything that his master had told him in detail. After hearing everything, Kang Lin was much calmer than he had imagined. She said helplessly, Brother Long, I understand. However, This is a disaster that cannot be avoided. Sister Lin, I will definitely think of a way to help you get rid of the evil ancestor's primal chaos seed. However, from now on, no matter what happens, you must not continue to merge with the primal chaos seed. If possible, and I say it is possible, you must start separating the primal chaos seed. When he thought about how the evil ancestor's primal chaos seed might devour Sister Lin's primordial spirit in the future and seize her soul for rebirth, Longao felt a deep sense of helplessness. However, this situation was very unfavorable for him. Even his master could not think of a better solution in a short period of time, let alone himself. He had no clue at all. The more he thought about it, the more helpless and afraid he felt. Brother Long, I know what to do. You don't have to worry too much. Kang Lin would be lying if she said that she was not worried. After all, the evil ancestor was the most evil Dao-proving cultivator. Since he was so eager to merge with her, he must have wanted to devour her primordial spirit. However, it was too late for regrets now. Kang Lin suppressed the fear in her heart. She definitely couldn't let Brother Long worry too much. However, the more she acted like this, the more Longao blamed himself and felt guilty. He clearly knew that he didn't know whether the primal chaos seed was beneficial or not. He should have stopped Sister Lin from fusing with it and waited until it was confirmed. It was all because of his negligence that things became so bad. If anything happened to Sister Lin, he would have to live in guilt and self-blame for the rest of his life. For a moment, the two of them did not know what to say. After all, the primal chaos seed left behind by a Dao-proving cultivator was really difficult to deal with. Chapter 3282. He was helpless. For the time being, Longao did not know what to do. The only thing he could do now was to wait for his master's idea. He hoped that his master would have a way to help Sister Lin deal with the chaos seed. Time passed quickly. 3 days later, Longao, who was troubled, suddenly heard his master's call in his mind. He was pleasantly surprised. Seemed like his master already had a plan and could not wait to enter the chaos dantian. Master, you have a plan? He prayed in his heart, hoping that his master really had a plan. But the result? Looking at the expression on his master's face, Longao's heart sank. Master, what's wrong? Shenyuan Bubai's face was terrible as he said, after 3 days of thinking, I still have no idea. Before Longao could say anything, Shenyuan Bubai continued, if I was at my peak, I might have a way to deal with the chaos seed. But now, Shenyuan Bubai's meaning was clear. Longao was no fool. How could he not understand? Thinking about how Sister Lin would be devoured by the evil ancestor in the future, Longao felt a deep sense of guilt and self-blame. It was all because of him. If he had stopped Sister Lin previously, this would not have happened today. The more he thought about it, the more he blamed himself. If even his master could not help Sister Lin, there was no need to talk about others. After all, his master was a true Dao-proving warrior. Master, under normal circumstances, when would Sister Lin be devoured by the evil ancestor? If it's short, it would be hundreds of years. If it's long, it would be thousands of years. Longao's heart sank. He was helpless. According to his master, Sister Lin could last for thousands of years at most. If that was the case, he knew what it meant. Nothing must happen to Sister Lin. Master, is there really no way? How could Shenyuan Bubai not know what his disciple meant? He thought about it. Shenyuan Bubai sighed deeply and said helplessly, it's not that there isn't a way. It's just that it's for you. At this point, Shenyuan Bubai did not continue. However, the meaning behind his words was clear. Master, what is it? Longao was not a fool. How could he not understand his master's meaning? It was impossible that there was no way. It was just that his master was unwilling to say it. It seemed that this method had something to do with him. No matter what, I can't let anything happen to Sister Lin, even if something happens to me. He sighed deeply again. Shenyuan Bubai glared at the disciple in front of him. He was very satisfied with this disciple of his. It was also because of this that he was unwilling to let his disciple take the risk. However, he was well aware of his disciple's character. I'm not completely sure if this method can deal with the evil ancestor. Master, I won't say anything else. I just need to protect Sister Lin. Shenyuan Bubai nodded. Since things were already like this, there was no need to hide anything. He said, if you want to deal with the primal chaos seed in the little girl's body, you must first lure the evil ancestor out. However, you must remember that there are two dangers in doing so. Longao didn't say anything. He just listened quietly. The first danger is that once the evil ancestor appears, he will definitely go all out to devour you. With your current strength, you are simply unable to resist the evil ancestor's primal chaos seed. Do you understand? Understood. Master, please continue. How could Longao not know what his master meant? However, he had already thought about it. No matter what price he had to pay, he couldn't let anything happen to Sister Lin, even if it meant putting himself in danger. Shenyuan Bubai wasn't surprised at all. It was as if he had already guessed that his opponent would do this. The second danger is that once the evil ancestor leaves, he will only need 1/10 of a second to destroy the little girl easily. Longao wasn't worried about his own safety, but he couldn't ignore Sister Lin's safety. He knew very well what the evil ancestor's backlash meant. 1/10 of a second. Just thinking about it, he knew what it meant. Not to mention the current him, even if he was at his peak, he might not be able to stop it. Perhaps only his master at his peak could do it. Master, how can I avoid it? This was the key. As long as he could protect Sister Lin's safety with all his might and not be devoured by the evil ancestor, he would have to deal with the evil ancestor in the future. I will protect the little girl's primordial spirit. As for the evil ancestor, Master, I have a way to deal with him. Was there really a way? Shenyuan Bubai knew that his disciple definitely had no way to deal with the evil ancestor. However, since things had already come to this, he didn't know what to do. This was the best way. If he let Longao do it himself, he knew what it would mean. He was helpless. Shenyuan Bubai knew that if he was at his peak, dealing with the seed of primordial spirit in the little girl's body wouldn't be difficult. Even if he couldn't destroy the evil ancestor completely, he believed that he could drive it away. However, it was almost impossible now. The only thing he could do was to protect the little girl's primordial spirit and prevent it from being devoured by the evil ancestor. Although his master had said that elder Sister Lin could still persevere for hundreds or even thousands of years, no one knew what would happen. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for elder Sister Lin. After all, the slightest bit of carelessness could lead to her being consigned to eternal damnation. That was the reason. Longao didn't want to wait for even a minute. He told Sister Lin about his and his master's plan. Under such circumstances, there was no need to hide it. No matter what, this matter required Sister Lin's cooperation. Otherwise, it would be even more troublesome. Sister Lin, let's start now. Don't be afraid. With Master's help, your primordial spirit will be fine. Kang Lin nodded. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't afraid. After all, the seed of primordial spirit in her body was left behind by a Tao-proving warrior. However, under such circumstances, Kang Lin wasn't worried about herself. Instead, she was worried about Longao. Brother Long, tell me honestly, is it dangerous for you to do this? Kang Lin had already thought it through. As long as her brother was in danger, she wouldn't let him help her even if she was devoured by the evil ancestor. How could Longao not know what Kang Lin was thinking? The more it was so, the more he couldn't tell the truth. Instead, he smiled and said, Sister Lin, don't worry. I forgot to tell you that my master, Shenyuan Bubai, is also a Tao-proving warrior. With Master's help, not only you, but even I won't be in any danger. Kang Lin, who didn't believe it at first, heaved a sigh of relief when she heard the words Tao-proving warrior. Chapter 3283. A Tao-proving warrior was the strongest existence in the chaotic world. Kang Lin had never expected that her brother's master was also a Tao-proving warrior. You must be careful. Nodding his head. At this moment, a ray of light appeared in Longao's body and entered Kang Lin's body to protect her primordial spirit. As a Tao-proving warrior, Shenyuan Bubai naturally knew what to do. Longao stared deeply at Sister Lin in front of him. In the next second, he finally made his move. Longao did not dare to be careless. His primordial spirit entered Sister Lin's body and he immediately saw the chaos seed in her dantian. Following his master's method, Longao began to trigger the chaos seed. As expected. Kid, get lost. If you provoke me, I'll take your life. Ha ha ha, you piece of trash. Ignoring the evil ancestor's anger, Longao continued to attack the chaos seed. According to his master, as long as the evil ancestor did not leave Sister Lin's body, he could borrow his master's power to temporarily seal the evil ancestor. But the result? The evil ancestor seemed to have guessed that this would be the result. Hence, when Longao attacked, he immediately chased after him. Kid. Just as the evil ancestor was about to destroy Kang Lin's primordial spirit, his face changed. He had never expected that Kang Lin's primordial spirit would be protected by a Dao-proving warrior. Shenyuan Bubai? Sensing Shenyuan Bubai's aura, the evil ancestor's face was filled with shock. He would never have thought that he would meet an old friend at this moment. Shenyuan Bubai was not among the people who dealt with the evil ancestor. Evil ancestor, Longao is my disciple. I'll let it go this time. Ha ha ha, Shenyuan Bubai. Even if you were at your peak, you wouldn't be a match for me, let alone now. If I were to devour your primordial spirit, before the evil ancestor could finish his words, Shenyuan Bubai sneered, Evil ancestor, you should know that with your current situation, I can take you down with me anytime I want. His face was dark and as ugly as it could get. How could the evil ancestor not know what Shenyuan Bubai said? If he was at his peak, he would not be afraid of Shenyuan Bubai. But now, the situation was different. He felt helpless. Fine, for your sake, I'll let him go. However, you want to stop me from killing Longao? Just as he finished speaking, the evil ancestor's figure had already disappeared without a trace. He sighed deeply. Of course, Shenyuan Bubai knew that if the evil ancestor's primordial spirit was in Kang Lin's body, he would still be able to achieve mutual destruction. As for whether he could succeed, that was still unknown. Once the evil ancestor left Kang Lin's body, even he wouldn't be able to do it. There was nothing he could do about the aftermath. Longao's speed was extremely fast. After all, the evil ancestor's strength was there for all to see. The evil ancestor's primal chaos seed transformed into a stream of light, chasing after Longao at the fastest speed. The two people, one in front and one behind, their speed both soared to the extreme. What happened? Kang Ya and the rest arrived at Kang Lin's courtyard in the blink of an eye. As soon as they stepped in, Kang Hao asked impatiently, Lin what happened? The three of them were very clear that with Longao's current strength, unless Evil Moon personally came, even Mo Wutian and the rest wouldn't be able to chase after Longao. It was completely nonsense. Could it be Evil Moon? If it was really Evil Moon, then things would be troublesome. Looking at the entire Domain Lords Alliance, even Kang Ya couldn't suppress Evil Moon. After all, Evil Moon was a legendary existence. Kang Lin didn't know why, but she felt that something was amiss. But when she thought of Longao's master, who was also a Dao-confirming martial artist, she heaved a sigh of relief. Not daring to hide anything, Kang Lin roughly explained what had happened. As for the matter regarding Shenyuan Bubai, she concealed everything. Master, will Longao be alright? Yes. Hearing Shenyuan Bubai's words, Kang Lin jumped in fright. She originally thought that her master would help Longao, but she never expected that Longao would really be in trouble. She didn't dare to continue. When she thought of Longao being destroyed by the evil ancestor because of her, she couldn't bear it anymore. Lin, what are you doing? Old ancestor, father, second uncle, the evil ancestor is a Dao-confirming martial artist. Although he's only a Dao-confirming martial artist, he's not someone Longao can contend against. I can't let anything happen to him because of me. I have to find him. Kang Ya didn't give Kang Lin a chance to escape. He directly enveloped Kang Lin, suppressing her. Old ancestor, what are you doing? Let me go, I have to find Longao. Kang Ya was a primal chaos reincarnation martial artist. It wasn't easy for Kang Lin to break through the aura released by a primal chaos reincarnation martial artist. It was almost impossible. The more it was so, the more worried Kang Lin was. Under such circumstances, the longer she delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for Longao. Kang Ye and the other two were shocked. They never thought that Lin would obtain a primal chaos seed. This primal chaos seed wasn't completely destroyed and still had a primordial spirit. If they didn't hear it from Lin's mouth, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. The three of them knew very well what the primal chaos seed meant. Because of this, the three of them had their own plans. If they could obtain the primal chaos seed, then they would have a chance to succeed in Dao confirming. A Dao confirming martial artist was the true pinnacle of the martial Dao. Among the three of them, especially Kang Ye, he wanted to obtain the evil ancestor's Dao confirming seed. Although he had never heard of the evil ancestor, he knew very well that a Dao confirming martial artist was an extremely powerful existence. Under normal circumstances, a Dao confirming martial artist would only be able to condense a primal chaos seed if they had truly fallen. Kang Ye couldn't understand. Since the evil ancestor had already condensed a primal chaos seed, how could his primordial spirit still exist? He couldn't figure it out. If it were any other righteous martial artist, they definitely wouldn't be able to do it. Only the evil ancestor was able to use a secret technique to not only condense a primal chaos seed, but also preserve his primordial spirit so that he could use the primordial spirit of the primal chaos seed to devour. If he hadn't met Longao and Shenyuan Bubai, the evil ancestor would have been able to successfully be reborn after hundreds or even thousands of years. From this, one could imagine how terrifying and powerful the evil ancestor was. Lin, you have to stay here. You should know what it means to be a Dao confirming martial artist. You have to believe in Longao. He can definitely do it. Enough, I'm leaving. At this moment, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Kang Lin's body, breaking through Kang Ye's suppression. She was pleasantly surprised and immediately left at her fastest speed. Kang Lin obviously knew that with her own strength, she wouldn't be able to break through the old ancestor's aura. This was all thanks to Longao's master. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.